misconceptions. We've got truth in our possession. No room for doubt, no time to waste. It's time to put flat earth in its place.
Welcome everybody to Tuesday Night. Sorry to interrupt your headbanging, but it's time for the show to start. And tonight we're reviewing WItsit's third installment of his ditching of flat Earth. Yes, indeed, Austin WItsit is laying the groundwork to leave flat Earth. I'm all okay with that. Awesome, Austin. I'm 100% behind you on ditching flat Earth, but it's fun to watch as he brings his audience with, and he's peppering them, and they don't even know. The sheep in his audience don't even realize that he's bringing them to geocentrism. So if you're unaware, Austin is tomorrow morning going to be on Tim Pool's podcast. It will be, to my understanding, pre-recorded, released later. He has a he has been looking for a credentialed person for a while to debate him on the heliocentric model. Right? He thinks that he has there's a couple things wrong in Austin's head. Right? First of all, he's just looking for some clout here. He was seeking around for some PhDs. So that he could find a soft target, somebody that that wasn't a debater, right? This isn't something that necessarily a PhD is good at. It's something that somebody who's good at debating is good at, because Austin brings up things and uses tactics that normal people don't do. And so when you're a PhD and you're working on stuff, this isn't how people interact with you, right? Everything he does is a gotcha. Certainly PhDs deal with gotchas and stuff like that, but not like this, not like a debate. And knowing all of the stuff that he's going to bring is like, you don't know, because they throw things out there that's just ridiculous, and you're caught off guard, like, what the hell is that? What are you talking about? That makes no sense. But then by the time you're trying to process that, he's 17 more shotgun things deep. So anyway, he wasn't able to find an uninitiated credentialed person, but in fact, he did find Astronomy Live. He has a PhD in neuroscience and has been an amateur astronomer for a long time, I think 20 years or something like that. Astronomy Live writes his own tracking software that controls the motorized mount on his telescope so that he can see things like rocket launches. So his telescope can point to a rocket launch and know where the rocket's going to be based on the published trajectory, and then he has a manual override, so that, because they're not always perfect, manual override to hone in on the center of it so that it can be right where it needs to be, and he also has some tracking things that he does. So it's really pretty cool stuff. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. Also, Astronomy Live has been doing things with Red's rhetoric for years. So they're good partners in things like they measured the elevation of the ISS. They measured the distance between the Earth and the Sun, things like that. He really knows his stuff. So Austin did not find the soft target he was hoping for. The other thing is Austin has been engaged in some lying about it. But I won't go into that right now. Let's see. This Greek, I can't pronounce it. It's PRO, prop or something. Can you Can you please mock Dave Weiss's latest proof last week on Mark's program with Patricia? He presented his latest proof, a flashlight and a ball in his garage. I haven't seen that yet. I will. I've been rather busy preparing for the final experiment. It's 2.5 weeks. I get on the plane in 2.5 weeks. So I've got almost everything in my possession that I need to have. I still have a bunch of stuff to do. And oh yes, if you're interested, I'm not going to cover it right now, but if you're interested, there is a Flurf wiki. It is live, flurf.info. If you are, I'm specifically looking for people that have, sorry, I got something in my eye, have some experience with Wikimedia sites and want to be an administrator at some level or have some, oversight on something. Contact me best on Discord, and I'll get you set up to be an admin on there. And I'll interview a little bit, make sure I know you or we're on the same level here. But we want to set it up so that anybody can edit as long as they have a named account, basically, to reduce vandalism. So anyway, this Flurf wiki, flurf.info, I pay for. Actually, you pay for. Let's be honest, right? The super chats, the views, memberships, all of that is what pays for the things that I do. So thank you for yourself, right? You say thanks to yourself as a community. Anyway, so that is paid for. So the previous one got taken down because it was hosted on a free site and there was ads on it, and it was subject to other people's terms and conditions. Of course, I'm on somebody else's system, so I am subject to their terms and conditions, but they're just kind of basic hosting terms and conditions, so it's not anything like before. So we're safe. We can do pretty much what we want on there. We're not about doxing, but if they've done, if they've published their stuff, it's okay, right? But that was something that people were asking about. Like, it's not difficult to get people's addresses and things like that. Now, if they haven't published it, that's not what we're about. So, but to document the things that they do, have some fun, that's definitely the kind of stuff that to have on the Flurf wiki, flurf.info. So head over there, sign up for an account, and if you're interested in having a higher level participation, let me know. So the conspiracist is wondering, how's McFlatty coping with the final experiment? McFlatty is hoping to go along with the final experimentalization, as he says. It's not going to happen, McFlatty, but anyway, he's super excited about going. Anyway, Steve Wilson, how many flat earthers does it take to change a 24-hour light bulb in Antarctica? They never change anything. That's true. Very true. Okay, so we have here's the video here that we're going to be looking at now. I said this is the third installment. This is only my second treatment of this specific series. The first of the series that he did was I didn't review it. So last time I reviewed his episode 2. I didn't review his episode 1. This is episode 3. So this is installment 3 of his video. I'm keeping mine in sync with his numbering. So anyway, this is, just so you know, this is a pretentious person that doesn't understand the topics that he's addressing here. And we get to see his pretentiousness on display, and informing, basically he's putting himself, declaring that he understands these things better than the people that have spent their careers doing it. That he thinks that he understands these things better than the people that have actually been in the trenches doing the work. He's never done the work, right? He's never attempted to do the math, the analysis, the predictions, the viewing, the observations, the measuring. He's done none of this. Right? The people that have, he thinks he's smarter than them. So, anyway, so that's what we're gonna do today, and part of this is prep for what he's doing tomorrow, because I think that WItsit is, I think that he's prepping to leave Flat Earth because he knows what the final experiment will show, and that he knows that he won't get traction after that. And he's been floating some lead balloons throughout the last several months about what he might be able to move to next. And I think this is him checking. I think tomorrow is him checking to see if he can go to geocentrism. So I could be wrong. He might actually just make it a flat Earth debate, but my suspicion is that that episode 4, well, this is episode 3 we're looking at, but episode 4 of this series, which he did last night, is what he really hopes to present in this described as flat Earth debate tomorrow with Astronomy Live. But he won't find a soft target in Astronomy Live anyway. It is just after midnight here. Lixuid. 2 a.m. is about the earliest I go to bed anyway. So, all right. That's that. I'll get into some other tangents throughout this, but I want to get into the content here right now. Oh, hold on. Gotta get the audio. There you go. And I'm playing him at 1.5 speed. If it's too much, I'll drop it to 1.25. You let me know.
Kinematic equivalence. So if you watch the first episode, we talked about the philosophical bias that kind of shrouds modern cosmology and isn't discussed. And that is that the Earth doesn't occupy a special or unique position. Episode 2 was about the difference between kinematics and dynamics. And this is because these two concepts are oftentimes conflated, even at the highest levels. When I have conversations with various PhDs, they conflate kinematics and dynamics frequently.
Listen to the pretentiousness.
So I decided that I would cover it, break that down. So of course that is kind of a prerequisite to this episode because we're going to specifically discuss the kinematic equivalence. And this is very important. If you Google, how do we know that the Earth moves around the sun? What are proofs that the Earth moves around the sun? If you ask any of these PhD astronomers, astrophysicists, unless they've actually decided to research in more modern times now that this conversation's come up, the quote unquote dissident view has started to actually gain traction, or they've listened to some of our stuff. They've changed their tune, frankly, which should tell you all you need to know that PhD astronomers and
stuff, right? So there are people that are educated and have an understanding of the topic to a certain extent, in that are geocentrists, right? And now he said our stuff, declaring himself to be a geocentrist. And when I say geocentrist, I don't mean flat Earth geocentrist, right? Of course, flat Earth implies geocentrism. It's bound up in the description. It's not separated. At least I've never heard a flat earther think that the Earth wasn't the center of, right? Typically, flat earthers think that the little mini prison planet that they describe is the only thing. So it's inherent in it. So they don't. So when I say geocentrism, just keep in mind that's globe geocentrism. That's right. Geocentrism, as defined by the people that are geocentrists, other than the flat earthers that imply geocentrism, the ones that describe themselves use geocentrist as their own moniker. Those people are globe geocentrists. And so when he says when he just said we, he's talking about globe geocentrists. But he's not talking about himself because he, in that real sense, because he's not the one that's actually been doing the work. He's going to go cite a bunch of people that have been doing the work, right? So while I think they're wrong, I respect them more because they're doing the actual work. WItsit can't do it. So it's just interesting that he's given it away here already. He has shown his cards that he definitely is of the mindset of a globe geocentrist. And I'm gonna switch this screen here so that you can see right down here. This is his live chat, so you can see his live chat going here. Because the interesting thing is seeing his. Hold on, I'm fixing this. Seeing his live chat. There it is. Because as he, leads the sheep that he has basically down this path, right? Which, right? It's a step forward. Globe geocentrism is a step forward from flat Earth, right? But it's funny because we've had some in his chat before. He's had some flat earthers that are dissenting, saying, "Wait a second." Not a lot, but a couple. We'll see if any show up today.
Physicists are actually revising their answers to that question being, what is proof of the heliocentric model, or that we orbit the sun? That should be pretty telling. So anyway, we're going to get into the kinematic equivalences. Even if you are not new to the subject, I do think that you will find this edifying. We're going to make sure we really break down some concepts that are oftentimes...
No, he's not going to really break down concepts. He's going to give a high-level, cherry-picked quote addressing of the concepts.
Done around, and I'm not always understood. So let's get into it. So here are some claimed evidences of orbital motion within the heliocentric model. And this is the question that I've been asking for a while now. Do you have any exclusive evidence that the Earth moves around the sun? And people run from that question, and we'll go through
I don't run from it, but he runs from me.
The list of things that people all repeated and regurgitated until they've been sufficiently refuted. And if you are familiar with the concepts of kinematics and dynamics after the previous episode, again, kinematics, how bodies move in relation to each other, and dynamics, what causes those bodies to move, then you're going to see how insane it is that these are the alleged evidences. And so let's familiarize ourselves with some of them. So first we have retrograde, which apparent retrograde motion is the apparent motion of a planet in a direction opposite of the other bodies within the system as observed from a particular vantage point. Simply makes it looks like it goes backwards. You can see the depiction down below it. Stellar parallax. These are the answers that pop up when you Google it. These are the answers that almost everyone will say, and they will say it with the utmost confidence.
As they should, because these are things that completely refute geocentrism.
Stellar parallax is a method used to measure the distance to nearby stars by observing the apparent shift in their position against the background of more distant stars. And actually,
look at Chad Vandewarp's message here. Chad Vanderwarp says, "You showed your true colors with the final experiment, mate." So yeah, is he addressing, I saw that before. Is he addressing that to WItsit? Which probably is. And yeah, cause there are some flat earthers that think that just because he accepted going, that he's not a flat earther, right? Which shows that Chad Vandewarp is definitely not interested in truth, because if anybody's interested in truth, right? These people, they like to chuck around truth, they're truthers, all that stuff all the time. If they are, then you wouldn't be scared to participate in something that might reveal more truth. You will always go into that excited if you're actually interested in truth. Flat earthers, then this Chad Vandewarp obviously doesn't. So, all right. So then, yeah, we've got Yeshua Savior says, "Chad, nobody cares for your opinion, bro." Got a lot of bros here. All right. Yeah. Watch for another of those if he comes around again.
It's not measuring distance whatsoever, and it's flooded with presupposition to claim so. And in fact, stellar parallax is such a misrepresented field because they are barely measuring any deviation and almost always falls within the error margin of making.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So barely measuring any, and then falls within the error margin, and he's completely wrong on that. They've measured, I think, to 5 or 6 decimals behind arc seconds, right? So 0.0000, that's 4, right? 4, so that's 4. And then one more digit is 5. So that many digits of behind arc seconds. So super precise measurements of the position of stars. And the margin of error is significantly, right? So that they're measuring that precisely. So that's where the margin of error is going to sit, like 5 or 6 digits deep. But they're measuring 1 digit or 2 digits of parallax. So they're 2 or 3 orders of magnitude in the larger parallax measurements. Of course, yes, there are some parallax measurements that are right on the edge of where the margin of error is. Then feel free to discard them if you're just questioning whether or not it's evidence for the movement of the Earth. So
any type of actual observation, telescopic observations from the Earth, and oftentimes they observe negative parallax and just ignore and or treat it as if it's positive anyway.
Now, here we see the pretentiousness of Austin. He's talking about negative parallax, and he's talked about that for a long time. Now, Austin doesn't understand the topic. He does not understand the topic of parallax. And so he has read one paper, and he might mention it here. Like, it's at Harvard. He found the link at Harvard. I don't know if Harvard actually published it. That, like, sometimes people don't get how papers work. Like, there are places that congregate papers, and so just because you can get it at the Harvard website, because Harvard has a collection of papers, it doesn't mean that Harvard published it. It doesn't mean that Harvard, endorses it. It just means that Harvard has it in their library. Let's hear what he says about that. Oh, no. Oh, I want to get to this. Astronomy Live actually has a really, really good video on negative parallax. And so I'll just say this. If you just measure, think about this. If you just measure parallax. So he goes over, I don't know. You know what parallax is? That's where a star appears to move side to side based on where we are in our orbit around the sun. So there's a lot. There's a lot of reasons for it. And Astronomy Live's video goes over all of them, and it's fantastic. And WItsit has zero understanding of the topic, and Astronomy Live's treatment of it is for a YouTube video is excellent, absolutely excellent. He doesn't go into the details of the math and measurements and things like that and how to actually do the calculations. That's that's a full course in astronomy to really get into that. And WItsit, an idiot who has no depth, is declaring that he knows better than the people that actually do it. That's the narcissism that he has. So
Harvard's astronomy department instructing their students on how to measure parallax.
There you go. Yeah, he said Harvard.
That's not specifically what this is about. It's about the claim that stellar parallax, if you yield the observational claims, is evidence the Earth orbits around the sun. We also have stellar aberration, oftentimes mixed up and thrown around, but they are not the same thing. A phenomenon where celestial objects exhibit an apparent motion about their true positions based on the velocity of the observer. It causes objects to appear to be displaced towards the observer's direction of motion. Sounds familiar or similar to parallax because it's about an apparent displacement, but we're going to cover these in simple ways. Trust me, I got you. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Another one is Kepler's laws. They describe how planets move in elliptical orbits with the sun as a focus. Number 2, as planets covers the same area of space in the same amount of time, no matter where it is in its orbit. And 3, a planet's orbital period is proportional to the size of its orbit. It's actually very basic common sense things. Okay, it's an observation, geometric description of how we see things move in the sky. We have the analemma. Oftentimes you'll hear people say the seasons prove that the Earth orbits the sun.
I want to remind you, this is somebody that currently claims and has an audience of people that currently are flat earthers. Right? So test all of this, and that's why I've labeled this WItsit ditching flat earth. Test all of the things he's saying here against flat earth. Just keep that in mind.
And of course, they are talking about the annual path of the sun and how out south their summer is our winter and vice versa based on the proximity to the sun. So the analemma is a diagram that shows the position of the sun in the sky over the course of a year as seen from a fixed location on Earth. The diagram is shaped like a figure eight. The shape of the analemma is allegedly determined by Earth's tilt, spin, and orbit. And lastly, we have the Doppler effect, the change in the frequency of light.
I like how he says allegedly. On flat Earth, what causes it? Give me the geometry. Oh, no geometry for flat Earth.
Light from stars as Earth moves towards or away from them allegedly supports the idea of Earth's orbital motion. So let's break these down. So retrograde motion, again, the apparent retrograde is the apparent motion of a planet in a direction opposite to that of other bodies within its system. We have a visualization there for you that's time lapse, I believe, of Mars throughout the year. And as observed from a particular vantage point, the term retrograde is from the Latin word retrogradus, a backward step, meaning backwards and step. Retrograde is most commonly an adjective used to describe the path of a planet as it travels through the night sky with respect to the zodiac, stars, and other bodies of the celestial canopy. In this context,
he says, canopy, as if that's, as if using a word changes reality, right? This is the shallowness of the type of the evidence that they have, right? They don't have evidence. So like, oh, he used a word. That word has a meaning. If I cherry pick the definition.
the term refers to planets as they appear from Earth, stopping briefly and reversing direction at certain times, though in reality, of course, we now understand that they perpetually orbit in the same uniform direction. Now, this is, of course, the heliocentric position. So they're claiming that because the Earth orbits around the sun, on occasions, it makes the planets, the interior planets, for example, appear to go backwards, and that is called retrograde, and that is proof that everything's orbiting around the sun, and it's just an illusion.
True.
So here is a depiction of it for you. And you'll see they obviously have the Earth moving around the sun with Mars moving around the sun. And as it crosses in front of the Earth and between the sun and Earth, it appears to go backwards. Now, this is not exclusive evidence that the Earth is moving at all, of course, because as we discussed last week, you can simply just put the marker on the Earth. And so this here is...
Now, this is his... Remember, he's a flat... He still wants his audience to think he's a flat earther, but this is his refutation of the globe orbiting the sun and Mars orbiting the sun and the positions, right? This is, keep in mind, flat Earth.
A sped up depiction of a neotonic system, which is a certain geocentric model. And this has everything moving in relation to the sun as the whole system moves in relation to the Earth at the center. So
the Earth, the globe Earth at the center, Austin. This is where his audience, the flat earthers in his audience, like this guy whose name is Earth is Flat, right? That guy should be saying, wait a second, but he's not. He's a sheep. He just eats it up. All of these people here, these are all flat earthers. They all think the Earth is flat. They all think that Austin is a flat earther. Like I said, I'm not complaining. Austin, ditch flat Earth. That's a good move forward, right? You know, in another sense, I think Austin's quite a horrible person. So, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of horrible people being flat earthers so that they kind of self-identify as idiots too. You know, like Nathan Oakley, I don't want him to ever stop being a flat earther. No. Quantum Eraser, he can stay a flat earther forever. I want that label of idiot on his forehead. So, you know, good and bad for Austin to do it. You know, the altruistic, yes, okay, congratulations. You moved on from the derpy flat earth. You know, you just reduce the derpiness by just a little squeak of a reduction, and you stuck with this dumb geocentric garbage. But on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, you know, he thinks that, you know, he's got certain views about certain people that makes him a horrible person. So I'm not a fan of that. So anyway, who's my favorite flat earther? I'll think about that.
People, of course, make the assumption that the Earth is what we see in the sky and that it's all moving around like the lights in the sky. And this is just a baseless assumption. But you will see here in the neotonic system, we have these motions. And for one,
it's not a baseless assumption. We've sent satellites, or not satellites, we've sent ships to other planets. It's not a baseless assumption. The baseless assumption is rejecting the evidence of ships going to other planets without evidence. That's the baseless part.
Motions, if actually fit perfectly within a torus field. So if there was actually a magnetic field that was causing the motion of these bodies, it actually makes sense physically as an actual motion that they would make these little swirls. Because
not at all, and it doesn't make any sense at all, because the planets are not, they're generally neutrally charged, and so a neutrally charged object in a exceedingly weak torus field. Right? Think about this. Look at that diagram there. Let me make it a little bigger for you here. That diagram. He says the Earth is in the center and there's a torus field that's causing all these spirograph motions. The planets are exceedingly far away, and this torus field is a magnetic field. Magnetic intensity reduces with the inverse cubed law, so that it reduces faster. And these planets are incredibly massive. Right? Why would Jupiter, at the distance that Jupiter is from the Earth in this diagram that he has, why would Jupiter follow that track? It's not charged. It doesn't have a charge. So what would cause that? Even a nominal charge on Jupiter would cause, no, it wouldn't cause that, because the immensity of the field would be enormous, and I don't think life would be possible if the field was that big. So he just chuck out things and say, oh, it's a torus field. That's a magnetic field. It's magnetism. It reduces with the inverse cube. And Jupiter is not going to respond to a magnetic field. It's generally not charged, and it's not also ferromagnetic. So if it's, I don't know, would it be, it probably is, I don't know if it would be a paramagnetic or, dude, I forgot the name. Anyway, slightly attracted or slightly repelled by a magnetic field with a field that's incredibly small. It's just crazy. AT2 production says the distance are wrong. All sciences and maths are wrong. The claim about energy, magnetics, and kinematics are wrong. Physics is wrong. Only WItsit is right. Duh. That's it. That's what he's saying. What? Paramagnetic? Why am I not? Where did it go?
That is the torus field geometry within a magnetic field, so it would just be seeking equilibrium within that. That's a bit further down the road. If we were
that's oh my gosh. It's a bit further down the road. It's nowhere down the road. Diamagnetic. Thank you. I am here.
to ever really speculate alternative positions. But nevertheless, as you can see with this depiction here, this is the Earth in the center and everything moving around it. Okay, it's called a neotonic system. Okay.
Globe. Globe. Where's the flat earthers saying, wait a second?
Let's move to the next slide here. And so we'll show this depiction again. So as you see, it has the Earth supposedly moving.
So this is good. This is the Earth orbiting the sun.
Around the sun, and this is showing parallax, but it's the same concept. And I believe it in a second it's going to also show retrograde. So like we discussed earlier, if you look at the top, it says the view from Earth right now.
Okay, so now this new view has the globe stationary. This is what he is proposing to his flat Earth audience.
Obviously, this little globe floating in space here, who cares? Doesn't matter, okay? It's not important for this discussion. As you see, that in the geocentric, you have the same parallax. Because everything's moving in relation to the background stars, and we're going to cover exactly what parallax is in a second. But nevertheless, this applies to retrograde as well, which I think I should be able to.
Now, he's moved... This is the little sly thing he did here. This is what the geocentrists do. On the globe spins on its axis once a day. That causes day and night. But if the Earth is stationary, the Earth doesn't rotate daily. It's fixed. And day and night has to be caused by the sun orbiting the Earth, not once a year, but once a day. So this diagram that he's showing here is showing the movement of the sun annually orbiting the Earth, but it doesn't. The sun in geocentrism orbits the Earth once a day, not once a year. So this diagram isn't even right for the neotonic system.
Speed up the video, I don't know. Okay, here, think about this here, right? So this has everything moving around the sun. Now, once we move over here, if you were to have everything moving around the Earth, but then the quote-unquote planets moving around the Earth with the sun, right? It's all moving in relation to the Earth, then you would have the exact same cause for...
Now notice, it didn't go flat when he did that.
Retrograde as you would in the geocentric model. Hopefully this makes sense in the heliocentric model. It's that it apparently goes backwards. It's not actually going backwards. You can see it just keeps going in the same direction around the sun. But as it crosses in between the sun and the Earth, it's going to look like it's going backwards from the vantage point of the Earth because it's in relation to the background. Now, like I said, there are many different options. This is not the only alternative is the neotonic system. In fact, the actual planets could just occasionally slow down in relation to the background stars, and they would, of course, look like they're going backwards because you're measuring against the background stars. In addition...
And why would that happen? He never presents the why. He's just like, oh, it could.
They fit right within a magnetic field geometry. So if it was actually magnetism causing the motion in the sky, we could expect that to be an actual observation of what the stars are doing. But even if it wasn't, the exact same claim of heliocentrism is exactly what would explain it from a neotonic geocentric model. So really simply, you're going to look out and it's going to look like the planet's going backwards. It's not. It's just that it's in relation to you. It looks that way, which is a pretty simple concept. So when you Google it or you talk to someone that claims that retrograde motion somehow proves heliocentrism.
Okay, I want to go back to this one here and show, because this is a pretty good when he's got the Earth in the middle here. So now, you think about it, why
Pause for retrograde.
why is, you see Mars out there, right? Mars is on the bottom right. I'm going to pause. I'm going to mute him while I do this. Oh yeah. You want the WItsit chat up? No, all right. After this, I will. So watch what Mars is doing here. Mars is orbiting the sun. Why not? Why is the sun orbiting the Earth? And he's not drawing it annually or daily. It orbits daily. He's for some reason only showing it orbiting annually. Why? That's not the neotonic model. But watch what Mars does. Watch the track it's taking there. It's far away now. And then I don't know if this does the animation show Mars. I don't think it's going to. Maybe it will. Oh, no, it didn't. So why? Why does the sun choose to orbit the Earth and then the other planets choose to orbit the sun? That makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. I don't get it. All right, let me so I don't get too far back, let me read a couple things here before we move on with this. Hugh Jar says, how on earth are you going to be able to handle cooped up with that? Well, to be honest, there's no cooping. In Antarctica, there's the only like building. There's no buildings really. There's tents, right? So it's a hotel, right? It's a resort, sorta, right? You sleep in tents, 2 people in a tent. I won't be in the same tent as him. And there is a food tent, so we'll be in there, and so we probably will be in there at the same time. But it's a big area, and there's a lot of tables, so I don't know if he can choose to come sit next to me if he wants. I'm parking everything, whatever our differences. I'm not bringing there. Right? If he chooses to bring them, well, then he chooses to bring them, and then things will get messy if he chooses to bring them. If he chooses not to, then it's going to be fine. It's up to him, right? So I'm not being the one to start it. So it's up to him on that. But yeah, we're not cooped up then. So the rest of the time we're outside, right? Outside where? With a giant slab of ice, many miles in all directions. So, but there is the observing location, which isn't right next to camp. It's a bit away from camp. And it's a big enough area that unless he wants to come over and have a chit chat with me, he can go hang out over where he's at again. So I don't think cooping up is what we're going to be experiencing, but I don't know. So, all right. Let's see. We got General E. Shady says, walk him out of camp, pour water over his feet. Won't do that. Yeah, you'd have to take your boots off for you to get frozen down. Here's one of the things I was thinking about in Antarctica. Like, we're going to be at the viewing station, which is a distance from camp, and like I'm going to want to have a drink of water, but it'll freeze, right? It'll freeze, so I'll have to drink it, and then I won't have water. So you can't like store water for 2 hours from now because it'll freeze. So Brenda says, WItsit has no concept of the cold. You're from Minnesota. We understand. Austin will be totally unprepared. Yeah. Things like, if you're not from a cold environment, then you wouldn't get this. Like when you start to feel like, oh, I'm getting a little bit too warm. Like I don't even think about it. I'm unzipping a layer, right? Just last week we play Ultimate now on Saturdays. Our pickup games are on Saturdays. So I was running around on Saturday, had the coat on, had the sweatshirt on underneath, and like, oh, a little warm. And I was like, not even thinking about it. I'm unzipping the coat a little bit to automatically regulate that. And I don't know, like if you get hot, right? If you're cold and then you're like, oh, I'm finally getting warm and toasty, then you start sweating. You don't think about that. Then that's a problem. So, but yeah, so the nice thing is the boots that they provide are very warm. They're rated to -100 Fahrenheit. So, hopefully they're really good, because you're walking around on ice and it doesn't matter that it absorbs heat. If you've ever been on a lake in the winter, you'll know, like you can be like wearing a t-shirt, your feet in the really thick boots can be just deathly cold. So, all right. Zoomeray says the only ones going to the final experiment are shifting their grift. Yeah. Or, I mean, I don't know. Let me say this. He might still stick with flat Earth after it. Like, with zero explanation for what the sun is doing, he might still stick with it. Because he's like, well, these lead balloons I've been trying to float, they're not floating. Could be. Astrokate Sathix says, decent people oppose anti-Semitic grifters. Yes. Yeah, and so and to that, Astrokate, I will say that part of me hopes he doesn't leave flat Earth, because I would very much like to be able to say, yep, flat earther, and to continue identifying the Venn diagram of flat earthers and anti-Semitics, and how the Venn diagram of flat earthers is almost completely inside the anti-Semitic Venn diagram. So, yeah, I'm amazed at the anti-Semitic stuff he said and the positions he holds. It's blown me away just in the last couple of weeks how severe it is. Anyway, CapQ57 says, I can't wait for Jaron to come back with yet more globe evidence. I want to nominate him for the 2024 Nodell Prize. The Bob Nodell Prize. Oh, well, he has said, and I love his angle at it. He said, look, I want to get the best evidence possible. I want to get the absolute top-notch, highest quality possible, so that there's less ambiguity. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So good for him. And I have, to my extent I can, I have offered my assistance to him and my thoughts about things like USB cables that are PVC versus braided nylon. And somebody in the chat here pointed it out to me a week or two ago, and I'm like, I didn't even think about that. I passed it on to Jaron. So the cables I'm bringing, I'm favoring the braided nylon ones over the PVC ones. So that's good. That's good. CJ Lamoureux says, telling you, experiment number 1 will be not trying to bust Witless in the face. That's experiment number 0. It's a 0 indexing here. But yes, Kanko44 says, for 5 Kiwis, what's up? What's the latest dipstick news? Is he getting ready for the trip? To my knowledge, he is. I have not seen any actual movement of him saying that he's not going. So that's the current up to date. I don't know. So he may have in his head, right? When we get to the end of this video is nuts. Like Jim Jones, David Koresh, Heaven's Gate, nuts. Yes. He might have in his head, he's going to go on Tim Pool and then he's going to get that contract, the big contract for his own show or his own spot or his own something, right? That's what he wants. He's been talking about that. He's jonesing for that. He thinks he doesn't want to, he just wants to not do the hard work of learning a trade or anything, or a field, or of building an actual skill in some scientific field. His skill is cherry picking, and he wants to just leverage that, and that's it. So, Darkstar 4400 says, I predict WItsit will leave Flat Earth and join Amway. Oh my gosh, I don't love that. That's basically what Dearth is doing with his app and his cryptocurrency stuff. I love that. That's so funny. Kango 44 says, stupid and prejudicial nonsense go hand in hand. WItsit is one of the dumbest MFers I've ever seen in action. Yeah. Okay, let me give you a little update on something, by the way. This is the $12 it's a good one. Sobrent brand USB-A to USB-C. This is the cable it came with, to SATA adapter. I have two 4 terabyte drives for backup in Antarctica, and I had trouble with these, and they did not format the right format. I had to format them a different file system, and then when I tested them with the script that I wrote, they failed. They failed to write the data and read it back the same. So I did some research, and I actually got a return approval on Amazon for the 4 terabytes, but I wasn't satisfied yet. I spent a little more time, thanks to Brenda, actually. Brenda who's in the chat right now. Brenda, you got me going down, looking at the chipsets, actually. So the chipset here, I think is J something. I don't remember the exact one, but it's a fine chipset, but it's got some issues. And I found some people on Reddit talking about the chipset here, that it doesn't support things over 2 terabytes and it doesn't support trim. Now, do you need to know what those things are? No, you should not know. The specific SATA implementation, the protocol of that, none of us should need to know. You say, well, you plug it in there and everything just works. You plug it in here, you plug it in here, it should all work. But no, it doesn't implement some of the optional features of the protocol and doesn't work over 2 terabyte. But the ASM something chipset, I don't remember the exact numbers, does. So I bought one by Ugreen, right here, Ugreen, $20, $12, right? Like, I don't care. I didn't buy this for $12 because it was cheaper. I bought this because it was more expensive than the $8 one. I didn't look up the chipset because I didn't think that you'd need to look up the chipset. It's the kind of thing you shouldn't have to do. It's a frustrating thing about the tech industry. Like, if you're going to sell something in the era of 4 terabyte hard drives, you better support 4 terabyte hard drives. Anyway, so I got this. I put the same drive in it. I formatted it with the file system that one didn't support, and it successfully did it. It's actually finished in a shorter amount of time. I started running my validation script. I turned it off. I don't run it during the live streams because it hits the USB bus a lot, so it can affect it. I don't want to affect it. So anyway, yeah. But if you know, you know, right, Darkstar. Like, if you know the stuff, then the actual protocols, and what is trim and why is trim an important part of the SATA protocol to implement. It's the kind what's this, the Macketo.com website that's no longer, it's gone. David K. Every, was the guy that wrote that. And he talked about, in the early days of USB, was something he called stupid knowledge. Stupid knowledge is needing to know the details of USB. To the end user, this is USB, that's all you should know. What color's in there? Well, the color means something. You shouldn't have to. You should not need to know what the color means. Right? You should just plug it in and that's it, and everything just works. Because that's the type of thing that the end user should have. But now you need to know, because there's USB 1, USB 1.1, USB 2, USB 3, but and USB 4, but no, and now it's USB 3.1, USB 3.2, and then they even added some more monikers after that. Like, that's why? Just the end user shouldn't have to worry about those. So you buy a hub and it's got different color plastic inside there because there are different protocols that are working in there. Like, why? It's so just pain in the butt. Anyway, jazz drive. I had a jazz drive. I got a zip drive. I got a zip drive in the garage somewhere. So I think that this enclosure solved the problem. So we was talking about a couple days ago, and I think I solved the problem. So I'm excited about that. Plus it's a little nicer enclosure. So Sea Lion Prime says, WItsit keeps citing relational mechanics to support a dynamic equivalence, as he says, for geocentrism. He's counting on his audience not reading the book, which disposes the notion of absolute space. Oh, the book disposes it with the notion of absolute space? Which is one of the things that he completely relies on. Of course, WItsit also, and it really gets in his next video, but WItsit rejects relativity. So he plays this double, that he's having his cake and eating it too kind of thing. He's using relativity to support this geocentric stuff that he's talking about here, but he rejects relativity. So you can't have both. Oh, it's in the first paragraph. Okay. I didn't read that part of it. I jumped down to the parts where he's like, it's a whole book, right? I didn't read the whole book. I jumped down to the parts where he's talking about the Lorentzian forces and stuff like that. Like, seriously, planets don't have that kind of charge, and the magnetic field isn't that big. And what's causing all this? Don't know. Just hopes and prayers. Kango44 says, SATA, what year is this? What? This drive is a SATA drive. Whoa. Consumer stuff isn't SAS. And the price point of a 4 terabyte SATA drive versus the price point of a NVMe drive, I'm sticking with the SATA. Yeah, what is SATA? Yeah, we've got parallel ATA, we've got IDE. Yes. How about IDE drive? How about an MFM drive, right? Who rocked one of them? How about a 50-pin Centronics SCSI drive? Yes, let's rock those. Kango44 said that SATA. Yep. Okay. And we got Kango44 again says, Mike, are you from the past? What's next? Firewire? I got Firewire. I got some Firewire in my drawer here. We call it our Brad at work. And I'll tell you why. So there's a guy at work named Brad, and he was in charge of, somehow he got himself put in charge of the hardware. And we updated all of our computers. We're developers, right? We're developers. We updated our hardware, and it was all excited. We're like, oh, cool, update all the hardware. And then Brad, he's walking around like, hey, okay, so I'm going to need the software that you install the boxes and all the drives and then like, what are you talking about? Why would we give you those? Well, because I'm in charge of the whole, like, get out of here, Brad. Just leave. Like, all of us would get the hell out of here right now. And then later he comes back. He's like, hey, all right, so I'm gonna need all of your admin passwords so that I can like, no, hell no, get out of here. Like, so we're developers. Nah. And so, but what he did is he had a locked room, and he'd put all of the stuff back in the locked room, and you couldn't get it. So basically it was a depreciation room, right? He puts all the stuff that you might need in the locked room. We're like, oh, I'm never giving him anything again. Anything I ever have, I put into a drawer in my office here. And we're like, that's my Brad. So we all have, that's what we say at work. Like, oh, check the Brad. So, I have in my Brad at work, I have 2 drawers in the Brad. In fact, I have the top drawer, which is new tech, and the bottom drawer, which is old tech. So the top drawer gets, actually, I was just in it the other day. The top drawer gets HDMI cables. The bottom drawer gets VGA cables, and I just demoted DVI to the bottom drawer. If you know, you know. But the zip drive's in the bottom drawer. So is the USB floppy drive. That's down to the bottom drawer. So, Vipe says, almost never catch you live, but always listen later. Thanks for hours and hours of entertainment, and have a very good trip to Antarctica. Thank you very much, Vipe. Oh, and that reminds me, Critical Think messaged me a couple days ago. He's like, hey, I'm not done with my fundraising. You know, so I'm like, I'll help you. I want to help you. So if you're interested in helping out Critical Think, then can somebody put it in? I'll pin the comment. Put the GoFundMe for Critical Think. He's an engineer. He's retired. Anything that he doesn't fundraise, he has to cover himself. So if you are inclined to do that, then he would very much appreciate it. In Punta Arenas, we're sharing a room, and I'm like, tell you what, I can help you. I'll cover the room. So that's my part. Globey McGlobeface and I are, we're close. We talk on occasion. When I'm on TikTok, I'm talking with Globey a lot. So when he did his fundraising, he rolled his fundraising over to me, and that's what put me over the top to be able to pay for it. I paid for the trip. I sent a $32,000 wire last week. It's crazy. Ashton. Read Ashton's. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, send me that one. Okay, there's the GoFundMe from Max. I'll trust that Max's link is the correct one. So, all right, you read it, Tune. That's the point. That is the point, Ashton. That is okay. Let's go back over to WItsit here and listen to what he's got. Oh.
The actual planets could just occasionally slow down in relation to the background stars, and they would, of course, look like they're going backwards because you're measuring against the background stars. In addition, they fit right within a magnetic field geometry. So if it was actually magnetism causing the motion in the sky, we could expect that to be an actual observation of what the stars are doing. But even if it wasn't, the exact same claim of heliocentrism is exactly what would explain it from a neotonic geocentric model. So really
no, not quite.
Simply, you're going to look out and it's going to look like the planet's going backwards. It's not. It's just that it's in relation to you. It looks that way, which is a pretty simple concept. So when you Google it or you talk to someone that claims that retrograde motion somehow proves heliocentrism, it is patently false. Okay, now we have stellar parallax. And we just now saw a visualization explaining that that's also a kinematic equivalence, right? And that just means how everything moves in relation to each other is equivalent from a geocentric or heliocentric model. And that's actually...
Okay, so when he says this, when this flat Earth, this claimed flat earther says kinematic equivalence, he is making some very specific claims about what he thinks reality is. Right? So okay, so when he says kinematic equivalence, what he's claiming is these things. Earth is a globe. Sun, millions of miles away. Right? He's claiming Sun orbits Earth. right? That's his claim. That's what this guy that wants his audience to think he's a flat earther is saying. He's then saying other planets orbit the sun. And what causes the other planets to orbit the sun? Gravity. And that the other planets are millions of miles away. This is his kinematic equivalence. This is Austin's claims. Now, there's one particular thing of note. This one here, I mentioned it before. Daily orbiting of the Earth. The sun has to. So these are his claims now, right? This is the kinematic equivalence. And so when I have said to him in the past that, when he hasn't, he's always ducking me, but I'm like, okay, show me the kinematic equivalence. This is what I'm looking for. Write these down or identify these, So Austin claims the Earth is a globe. Austin claims the sun is millions of miles away. Austin claims that the sun orbits the Earth daily. Right? And he's like, it's a kinematic equivalence. Okay, cool. Let's just document all of these equivalencies that you're talking about. So that's what this is. Okay. And then further, you've got the stars. The sun. The stars orbit the sun, and this comes in later. He won't talk about this today or this next. I don't know when he gets to this, but this is the necessity. The stars orbit the sun. So for some reason, arbitrarily, the sun orbits the Earth, and everything else orbits the sun, including the rest of the universe. The rest of the universe, the stars orbit the sun. And so he drew when you saw that the parallax, the only way parallax works is if the stars orbit the sun. That's a necessity. It's not obvious in the diagram, but that's what it requires in order for it to happen. So, somebody getting messages deleted? Oh, we got. Hold on. Let's. What? Why so butthurt, Dr. D Head? Why are you? You're really butthurt? I love it. I love it when flatties get butthurt like this. Like is this how you deal with things that hurt you in the feels? Dr. D Head, right? Anyway, just thank you very much, Dr. D Head, for demonstrating that flat earthers are horrible people. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. I don't know. Maybe you disagree with this, Dr. D Head. I don't know. I mean, these are the things that Austin has just declared, and so I'm just making it clear. So watch the parallax here, and it's not immediately obvious, but if you kind of draw out the diagrams of how it has to work, then it does become a necessity that the stars orbit the sun. And of course, the sun orbits the Earth daily, so the stars orbit as a secondarily part of it. They orbit the sun or the Earth daily as well, but in a kind of a wobble annually. So
actually, let me come over here to explain this. That's actually the heliocentric model's claim, right? Relative motion, the theory of relativity. It's that it's equivalent.
Chad Vandewarp says over in Austin's chat says, space is land, sea, and air. Planets are long areas with their own local suns and moons. Planets are land areas with their own local suns and moons. Yeah, he's a flatty. He's like, I don't know what I don't know how does that work? It doesn't matter to him. He can just say it, and then that's all he needs. Wow. Top Dog Shattuck says the stars would have to be orbiting Earth if the sun is daily. So they are by, secondarily orbiting the Earth, but they're pinned to the sun. So they rotate. Here's what happens. There's a bunch of weird things that have to happen in geocentrism. So the sun orbits the Earth, and then every day to cause day and night, and then annually the stars rotate around the sun annually, right? So the whole bunch of them go around every day, but while that's happening, for no good reason, they're spinning around the sun. Why? Don't know. So the centrifugal forces of it are immense because they're far away. How far? Geocentrists are inconclusive on how far away they are. There's some that have proposed that there's some sort of a maximum distance, and beyond that, they just appear to be farther away. But it doesn't really matter because they're far enough away to have the centrifugal force be ridiculously huge to do it once a day. So
I actually do not agree to that. I completely denounce the claim it's equivalent. It is not equivalent. There are tests that have proven exclusively that the Earth must be stationary, and it's the only viable explanation, and it's far superior in many, many ways.
It's not far superior in any way at all. It's not superior even remotely, but WItsit doesn't have the capability to evaluate claims. He lacks that. He just sees a claim, is like, oh, I'll take it because it matches.
But to dip off into the mainstream, they're proposing these observations as proof of heliocentrism, when in reality, from their own paradigm, none of it could be, because the model requires the claim of relative motion. All motion is relative. That is literally the staple of the current heliocentric model. So you must adhere to a kinematic equivalence within that model. I just want to...
Yeah, that's totally fine. Totally fine. But he rejects this general relativity. So you don't get to claim it. And I hinted at this, right? He's going to try to use relativity to bolster his position while rejecting relativity.
Explain a different phenomena that's always brought up so that people truly understand what kinematic equivalence is and how it applies. I think that when you hear these examples explained to you, you're going to start to really understand the concept of kinematic equivalence and how insane it is that so many people are being misled in the general public as to what supposedly proves the Earth is orbiting the sun, when all of it is intellectually dishonest and blatantly wrong, right? Patently incorrect. It's very interesting. That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? So let's read what stellar parallax is. I actually didn't change it here, but it's okay. So here's a simple example of parallax to understand what it is.
Okay, I'm going to skip past because he's stuck on parallax for quite a bit here.
It didn't update. Oh yeah, here we go. As demonstrated by our example, only relative position can be deduced from parallax.
Okay, well, yeah, you're right, but he invokes things that then requires the forces, and so he likes to spend a lot of time talking about kinematic stuff, but the dynamics don't work.
Is correct. Okay.
So
let's move on to the next one that's oftentimes claimed. Stellar aberration. Stellar aberration is the apparent shift of stars about their actual positions. Effectively, it was discovered that to ensure that a star is observed in the center of a telescope requires tilting the telescope at an angle. So this angle was assumed to be due to Earth's alleged elliptical orbit. This, of course, once again, is an erroneous assumption, as the stars could simply be moving relative to a stationary Earth. So here's a depiction for you, and I know a lot of people kind of get these concepts confused. We have a very simple analogy that's going to make sure that you understand it. Don't worry. So
this is a good one here. This little video is from debunker, flatearth.ws.
Here is a typical heliocentric claim, and I'm going to use this resource quite a bit. This is called like debunking flat Earth misconceptions or whatever. And this is the kind of stuff that we get, ironically, touting the very existence of the website on debunking misconceptions. It says things such as stellar aberration is the apparent shift of stars about their true positions depending on the direction Earth is moving in its orbit around the sun. It occurs because the speed of light is finite. Remember that. It takes time for light to reach the observer. An analogy is the apparent direction of falling rain. If you look at the actual depiction here, you'll see That's all about the apparent direction of light. So it has the same a year cycle as Earth's orbital period. It causes stars at the elliptical poles to move in circles, those in the elliptical plane to move in lines, and other stars to move in ellipses, all with the maximum shift of 0.0057 degrees. Stellar aberration was the first direct proof of heliocentrism, that Earth is orbiting motion around the sun.
Indeed.
Okay. Patently incorrect. So let's talk about the analogy. Okay. A simple analogy to explain the phenomena of stellar aberration is the apparent direction of falling rain. If rain is falling vertically to a person that's running in the rain will arrive at an angle. The rain will appear to originate not from straight up, but slightly tilted toward the direction the person is running. Here's the kicker. Or, of course, the rain could just be falling down at an angle. Wow.
Now, I'll let him get to his point, and then I'll address it.
Wow. Profound. And again, this is just very ignorant to claim anything kinematic is proving the heliocentric model. But I want to make sure people understand these concepts, because people throw them around quite a bit. Okay. Now, there's actually something called Aries failure. Again, the same.
Okay, so that was it. He didn't go farther into it. Aries failure is related. I don't think he's. All right, so I'll describe that again. Remember, so his explanation for aberration is that the stars could be shifting in their position. So aberration is the composition of the Earth's movement in relation to the light's movement. So as the light is coming towards Earth is moving sideways, right? And so then it gets that shift. And so in one part of the year, we're moving this way, and another part of the year, we're moving this way. So that same light will appear shifted differently based on which direction we're moving. And Austin is saying, well, it could be that the light is moving, not the Earth, right? So here's the Earth, and the light is moving, and you're right? It could be doing this, and then for 6 months later, why? Never mind the why. 6 months later, light is doing this and hitting Earth by coming in this other direction. Okay, so yes, those things could happen, but you need the why. But also, it's a bit more challenging for him than that, because the stars aren't just in the neotonic model. What he's proposing, the stars aren't just there and like moving sideways, and so then the light's coming sideways from them. No, because of the day-night cycle, the star is there. 12 hours later, the star is there. Right? Remember, the stars orbit the sun orbits the Earth. Right? The stars orbit the Earth annually, but the stars and sun together orbit the Earth daily. And so they're down there. And so now they're moving sideways, and the speed that they're moving sideways is ridiculously large, because what's happening? They're moving at many multitudes of the speed of light. They have to be, right? And of course, he has to reject relativity. So yeah, it happens because reasons. So it's happening every day. So they're not just you don't get that. You get the stars are moving at a ridiculously high speed, much, much more than this lateral movement that matches Earth's orbit around the sun, right? 100,000 kilometers, a little over 100,000 kilometers per hour. So that's the relationship between the speed of light and the speed of the Earth that we measure with aberration, with the Earth orbiting the sun, right? And so he's saying the stars are providing that lateral motion of the light, but he's got the speeds all off because it has to orbit once a day. Just makes no sense. He doesn't get that. So, all right, Axeman thinks that some comments are being deleted. Axeman, right here, you can see whether or not your comments have been deleted. So you can shut up, you little baby boy. Okay, you scroll back and find where somebody deleted your comment. screenshot it, email it me, mctoon@mctoon.net, and then I'll put it up on screen that your comment was deleted. Can't do that. If you can't do that, then shut up, right? I get on people for deleting stuff that shouldn't be deleted. I like to have flat earthers show that they're horrible people and that they're incredibly stupid in the live chat right here. So please go ahead and show that you're either horrible person or incredibly stupid or both. Right here. Go ahead. Do it. Do it, Axeman. I want to see it. I want it to be on display for humanity, for posterity. Okay? That chat won't show all messages. No, not the chat, the actual embedded in the video. That's why I put it here. Because this video here can't be edited later, right? The actual, like the live chat, that's a sidecar to the video here. That can, like if somebody's hidden on the channel, when you watch the video later, their comments won't show up, but they will still be here because it's indelible in the video. Yeah. Are some posts being filtered before they're posted? They could be. It's outside my control. It's YouTube that does that. So anyway, I love it. It's so hilarious when flat earthers whine about being censored, because how many flat earth channels are auto censoring? How many? So many. Flat earthers are the biggest promoters of censorship. They hate it. They hate it when people comment stuff. I can't comment on anything on Twitter for WItsit. I can't comment on WItsit's Facebook. He blocked me there. I can't comment on WItsit's YouTube. He blocked me there. He's a chicken. He's a chicken. Axeman, go ask him. Go talk to him. So funny. Anyway, go cry. Your mommy needs you, Axeman. Go. So ask her to come downstairs and give you more Hot Pockets.
Resource, which is very convenient for teaching purposes. It talks about Aries failure. It says was an experiment in which Sir George Airy failed to confirm the ether theory by measuring stellar aberration, which in itself proved Earth's orbital motion. This guy's a
yeah. So stellar aberration. Okay, I was trying to. It wasn't Aries failure. It was the previous James Bradley's measurement of the aberration that, according to this website, used the word proved, which is a little too, not the right word, but anyway, yep.
Again, claiming stellar aberration proved it, and Airy did so. We won't get into the misconception or the misrepresentations here. We're going to cover that in the future. Flat earthers claim Aries failure was about proving Earth's motion. In reality, the aim was to confirm the ether theory, but it failed to do so. The experiment relied on the already accepted knowledge that Earth is in orbit around the sun. Now, this is one of those talking points that are so overtly dishonest and deceptive. You should ask yourself, this isn't just some random website. Everyone says this. Mainstream resources say this. And of course, don't back up with resources, which I will have all the resources readily available and accessible on my documents database that I'm building. But this is just patently incorrect. So this is interesting to say the least, and I hope you follow me. We're going to cover this more extensively in the future. But as we read in the previous slide, the heliocentric interpretation requires the incorporation of a finite speed of light from the star. It is then assumed that due to the movement of the observer, there's an apparent displacement of the starlight. Once again, like if the rain was falling straight down, but you were running through it, it would appear, since you're moving underneath the rain, it will come in at an angle. And that angle will be directly relative to how fast you're running underneath the rain. Brilliantly, Airy realized that if the light from the star was in fact traveling to the Earth with a finite speed, causing this apparent displacement, then he could isolate the motion by introducing an additional medium. Simply, adding water to the telescope would slow down the light, resulting in a greater displacement if the amount the star was displaced was caused by the Earth moving underneath the star.
Also assuming that the ether existed. That's the critical part of it. Right. So prior to this, the motion of the Earth had been determined using aberration. WItSit's proposed a replacement for it doesn't work because the stars aren't just moving a little bit in relation to the Earth. They're moving a lot in relation to the Earth. And they're moving different based on how far away they are from the Earth. Because the velocity of the near stars is smaller than the velocity of the far stars because they have the same angular velocity, but that means that when they're farther away, they need a faster linear velocity. So that sideways sliding light, as he's proposed, has to be larger for different stars. We don't see that though. Anyway, but the big important thing, and Austin always leaves this out, flat earthers leave this out, is that Aries failure was testing for ether, and he's like, he talks about the heliocentric prediction. It's the heliocentric prediction with ether is what is being talked about, and he leaves that part off when he's talking about it.
Then increasing the amount of time it took the light to travel through the telescope would result in greater displacement. Let's make sure that we understand this concept. It was actually a pretty brilliant idea, although quite obvious. The idea is that we see, this is what happens. You take a telescope and you look at a star in the sky, and in order to keep that telescope that star in the center of your telescope, you actually have to tilt it at a slight angle, right? And you can figure out what this angle is based on where you are and what time of year it is, etc. They were saying, okay, the reason that is happening is because the Earth is moving underneath the stars, right? So that actually, as the star comes to you, and it takes a certain amount of time for that light to come to you, since the Earth is moving underneath it, it's actually going to require you to adjust to get the right angle to see that star. Again, it's like running through the rain, and if the rain was falling straight down and you were running through it, it would look like it's coming at an angle towards you, and depending on how fast you ran, that would determine the angle of the rain, right? If you went super, super fast in relation to how fast the rain was falling down, it would be going closer and closer to horizontal, straight at you.
Okay. Axeman, little baby here. Tell you what, I'll solve the problem, Axeman. Are you ready? Are you ready, little baby? Little baby? There you go. Now, 100% of your comments will be unseen. So there you go. Problem solved. Right? I'm not here. You know, I would love it for you to just say a bunch of insane things. But for you to just say, oh, my stuff is being blocked, when you can see right here on the side that nobody is blocking your comments, right? If things are being blocked, it's automatically held by YouTube, something I don't have control over. But now I do have control over it. I have intentionally blocked you. Congratulations. All of your whining won't be here anymore, little baby boy. All right, so go cry to your mom. Go sob into her bosom. She'll stroke your head and say some soothing words, maybe sing a song to you so that you can fall asleep. Maybe she'll warm up some milk for you so that you can have that and, you know, sob yourself to sleep. That'll be nice. So anyway, good luck, Axeman. Yep.
If you were barely jogging through the rain, it would look like it's super close to vertical and slightly at an angle, right? So this angle is directly relative to how fast you move. And specifically, it's about time, right? Because speed equals distance over time. So it's how much distance you cover in a certain amount of time. That's your speed. So if what Aries figured out was basically if you could take the rain and you could slow it down, but you could keep moving at the same speed, you would actually see a greater angle change because you are moving under the difference between how fast you're running under the rain has increased because it's taking the rain longer to get to you, right? Pretty simple concept. So he did this with, of course, the star. The idea was that the Earth was moving underneath the star. And so as the star entered the telescope, if you filled it with water, it would slow the light from the star down. And since it would now take longer for the starlight to get through the telescope because it's going through the medium of water, then you would have a greater displacement, a greater angle, because the Earth was allegedly going to keep moving underneath that star. So once it went through the water, it's going to increase the amount of time it takes the light to get through the telescope. Therefore, it's going to have such a great angle, it'll actually hit the side of the telescope. You won't be able to keep it in the center of the telescope with the same original correction, right? You actually have to tilt it more. And so there was this is pretty brilliant. So this is called Aries failure. And as you see here, not just with this meme, but across the board, they claim that this just disproves the ether. Ask them to specifically articulate.
Of course it does. And ask them to specifically articulate what he's about to ask has been answered. He just rejects the answer. Doesn't mean it hasn't been answered.
How they cannot answer it. Now we will cover this more in the future, but spoiler alert.
Okay, I can answer it. Special relativity. It was a ponderance from when Aries did that until the reason was proposed and confirmed by special relativity. And the answer is, so the light goes through the telescope and goes at a slower speed with a telescope that's filled with water than a telescope that's filled with air. And the undulating theory of light, as the Aries failure mentioned, it uses it in the paper. Aries paper uses the undulating theory of light. That's the ether theory. The the light comes through the air, hits the telescope, goes through the air of the telescope. That's your base case. Then your test case is the light goes through the air, it gets into the telescope, and then there's water in the telescope, so it goes slower through that. And so the idea then would be, oh, well, light is traveling slower, therefore it's going to be affected based on the motion of the Earth through space. But relativity, light travels at the speed of light through the water. So it's a different speed. It's still traveling at the maximum speed. So that it's relativity that explains it, right? Ether doesn't. The moving telescope doesn't explain it. It should be shifted when you go through that slower medium, but it's going the speed of light in water when it's going through the water. So it doesn't. It's not affected like that. The ether style. So. Anyway, so let me. He's moving on, I think, to another one, but the Aries failure is a little more difficult to understand than Michelson-Morley. They're essentially the same thing, but I think it's a little more complicated just to think, oh, it's the speed of light is different in the water, and that's completely explained with special relativity. And so when he's like, nobody's explained it, it has been. When special relativity was proposed, like, oh, Aries failure makes sense now, right? Oh, Dr. D-Head is back. It must be Axeman here. Yeah, why are you? Yeah, Dr. D-Head. Let's just look, Dr. D-Head. Thank you for showing that flat earthers are horrible people. So, right here it is, right there. Yeah. Hey, flat earthers suck. They're terrible. They're awful humans. The world would be, I like that. I was going to say the world would be a better place without them. Of course it would. But at least since that isn't the type of thing that I propose doing, like making them not exist anymore, it is nice that they self-identify as idiots and they kind of congregate together as idiots, right? Flat Earth is a gill net for idiots. It just collects idiots, right? And awful people, right? That's what it does, right? It's like, oh, that person's like, if you meet somebody, you're like, oh, that person, he's really stupid and he's horribly anti-Semitic. And then like later, you're like, oh, he's a flat earther? Yeah, makes sense. Totally does. Yeah. Anyway. So let me read this. We got Darkstar 4400 says, I used to use an IBM 1301. Yeah, that old. I don't even know what an IBM 1301 is. I would, is it a mainframe? Don't know. Kango 44 says it's so embarrassing. They have the James Webb Telescope at Lagrange point L2. Two important Lagrange points in the Sun-Earth system are L1, between the Sun and Earth, and L2. Yeah, and yeah, the Lagrange points are really cool. There's the between the Sun and the Earth, there's a point on near the on either side, nearer the Sun and farther away from the Sun, where things can be in relation to the Earth rather simply. So you can kind of get there, and you have to do a little bit of orbit keep or position keeping, but essentially at those 2 points you can stay there without a lot of effort. The other Lagrange points you can stay at with less effort. So you can kind of think of it like as the peak of a hill for Lagrange 1 and 2, and at the bottom of a hill for the other Lagrange points, 3, 4, and 5. And so those don't need as much orbit keeping to stay. But yeah, basically when they're in Lagrange 1 and 2, they get in a little mini orbit around the Lagrange point is how it actually works. It's really cool how the the balance of where gravity is there, it kind of acts as if it's an orbiting point. So Lagrange, James Webb is at L2, right? Yes, I think that's I like the numbers. Yep, Lagrange 1 is between the Earth and Sun, and Lagrange 2 is on the other side. The reason why James Webb is over there is because it's super sensitive to infrared. So you don't want you can't point it at the Earth. It's too bright in the infrared for James Webb. So it actually sits there at L2, and it has those 5 layers of some sort of mylar type material. It's not mylar, but it's more fancy than that, to shade it from the heat. They don't want the heat from the sun, and then it looks away from the sun all the time. And if when it was being deployed, this was really cool. There's a Twitter account. This was in the days when it was Twitter. There's a Twitter account for the James Webb satellite. There's a Twitter account for NASA's moon, and a Twitter account for NASA's sun, and a Twitter account for NASA's Earth. And so I just loved this. When James Webb deployed those big mylar-esque things blocking the sun, the Twitter account for James Webb blocked the NASA Sun account and the NASA Moon and Earth accounts. I thought that was funny. Okay. We got Josh Garver with Josh's 3rd super chat. Amazing. Says, is Austin special needs? I have laughed at him for years. I will stop if he has a legit disability. Okay, well, that's a good question. Maybe Austin can answer that for us. Austin, are you special needs? If you are, let us know, and I will be the one to champion not having people laugh at you anymore if you are indeed special needs. So just, send me a message. You probably can't do it on Facebook because you blocked me there. And you probably can't do it on Twitter or X because you blocked me there. And you can't do it on Discord because you blocked me there. So I probably will have to be an email, and you've successfully emailed me. So anyway, send me an email if you are special needs. And yeah, there you go. What is Dr. Let's see. I want to see what Dr. Dickhead is saying here. So is he trying to see where the line is? Yeah. Why? No. All right. I mean, this is the things that I it's like the aggressive anti-Semitism, and it's the things that YouTube will have issues with, because YouTube evaluates my channel based on what happens here. So that's why. But when Dr. D Head says this here, that he said, where'd it go? It's right there. When Dr. D Head says that, it is just additional evidence that flat earthers are horrible people. Right? So I'm winning. When Dr. D Head does that, I win. Flat earthers lose. Right? This is, I don't know. I would think that other flat earthers would go to Dr. D Head and say, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. That's bad. That's a bad look for us. But no, flat earthers aren't generally ashamed of that. This is a lot of just run of the mill standard flat earth stuff. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. But yeah, and of course, I'm always happy, Dr. D Head, if you think that maybe you have some more, and you think that you're so smart. You can debate me, and if you don't want to do it on here, then a modern day debate would be a fine place to do it. So, oh my gosh, I got an email from Austin today or yesterday. Amazing, Austin, what a douche. What a douchebag. All right, hold on. Let me see here. There it is. All right. Awesome. Okay. So to review, for back at the beginning of September, Austin had been saying he had been negotiating with Will Duffy about the legal contract for the final experiment, and Jaron had sent Will a list of things that he wanted that Jaron wanted in the contract. So Will then sent that to Will's attorney. Will's attorney drafted a contract, and then Will sent that to Jaron and Austin. And then Austin complained about it. Like this was mostly generated by demand or request from Jaron. Anyway, he complained about it. He said that in this tweet, somebody has been asking him, M2M was asking him, what are you doing? How many final experiment? Are you going to go? You know, because it had been 3 months. He's been waffling. So he so funny. So funny. He had said in this tweet that he's legally adept and that he had been going over the contract with his attorney, and that also he said that if the flight was canceled, he would have to pay for the entire thing, right? If Austin's flight was canceled, he couldn't get down there for some reason, then he'd have to pay for the whole thing, right? Because part of the contract was if you back out, you pay for Will's, because Will's paying for Austin. Will's paying for Jaron, right? So the contract was if you back out, then you pay Austin, Jaron, right? Fair, right? Anyway, and then he had a screenshot of the contract where it said that you would not need to pay for things beyond your control. Is a flight being canceled beyond your control? Of course it is. So you would not need to pay. So Austin had a screenshot that literally contradicted himself, right? First law of Flurf. But I looked at that. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that an attorney is saying this to him. Well, he had it. So I'm like, you're lying about the attorney thing. That's what I thought. But he had also said to some other people that he had not been working with his attorney. It was just him. Same time, same day. And then when I was on the Earth Awakenings Discord server, he tried to confront me on this. And while I was talking with him on the Earth Awakenings Discord server, he admitted right there, live, that he had told other people that he had not been talking to an attorney. So right there, live on the Earth Awakenings Discord server, he admitted that he's lying. So anyway, the point is, I had said, I'll pay for 5 hours of your attorney's time. I'll pay for 5 hours of your attorney's time, because I didn't think that he had been working with an attorney. Because I couldn't imagine an attorney saying that type of thing. You know, I'm looking for something here. This would be good when I find it. Because I wrote, there it is. I wrote this while talking to him. I caught WItsit lying again. So he admitted that he had been telling people that he was not talking to an attorney because he was doing it tactically. So he was lying tactically. And he admitted that he had mentioned it on Twitter or X, and he shouldn't, and he didn't want to. So he was accidentally telling the truth and intentionally lying. Now he's a truther, right? The other truthers should say, "Oh, wait a second, what are you doing?" Anyway, so so my offer to him was, okay, have your attorney contact me, and I will, we'll set up 5 hours of your time. But Austin never had his attorney contact me. Austin emailed me a bill from Austin. Like, it's from his attorney, but it came from Austin. I said, no, I want to talk to your attorney. I said, connect me with your accounts payable department. Their account payable, the attorneys. He didn't. Then he mailed me the bill. I said, cool, connect me with the accounts payable department. He didn't. He emailed me again. I said, connect me. Quote, could you please connect me with the accounts receivable department for the law office of Jonathan Gross? Thanks in advance. That was November 4. Yesterday, the day November 21, he replies back. He said he would have someone from his office contact you. Took 3 weeks. About. Sweet. Anyway. How can YouTube police all the content creators? Mostly it's through software. That's how. I loved when you crafted that masterpiece live. Yes, he was technically lying. So anyway, yeah. Back to your super chat, Josh, this little side channel we went down. Is Austin special needs? And I offered Austin, if you are special needs, email me. I know that you can email me because you have emailed me before. And look, I got an email in my inbox. I hadn't seen it. It came in at 9:00. I went to see a play tonight. I saw The Grinch tonight. Fantastic. At the Children's Theater up in Minneapolis there. So anyway, then Dr. Tapioca Weasel, love him, says, how y'all doing this fine evening? Dr. Tapioca Weasel, when Witsit was looking for a credentialed person, so that because he was looking to for some clout. I'm like, Dr. Tapioca Weasel's a good one. Turns out you're busy, right? Anyway, let's get back to a little more of this here.
It was actually a success, right? It was Aries' success. The amount the star must displace. Again, we just explained why. It isn't debatable.
It must displace, requiring that ether exists. And this is the thing. They were testing for it. This specifically in the paper. You read the paper. They say the undulating theory of light a whole bunch of times. And in the paper at the end, they say, turns out Dr. Klinkerfues, who was the guy who was proposing the undulating theory of light and proposing this experiment, and Aries did the experiment, turns out his hypothesis is wrong. The ether theory is wrong, or ether hypothesis is wrong. Sometimes they swap around your theory and hypothesis. So anyway,
it's basic velocity adjustment. The amount the star must displace according to the heliocentric model was not observed.
And he just lies. He just lies so much. Along with ether, it didn't shift because ether didn't exist.
It actually falsifies the assumed equivalence in favor of the geocentric model. This will be covered more extensively in a future episode. This is his chart from his actual readings. What was expected, what was actually observed. It basically didn't change at all. Long story short, it barely changed at all.
Barely changed at all. Yeah. Which matches special relativity.
There is no explanation to this day. And the fact that it slightly shifted is even worse for them. They have no explanation to this day for this phenomenon. Literally, all they will do, and when I say they, I mean
special relativity is the explanation.
Anyone I've talked to, any PhD, they'll say, I don't know. I need to look into it. I'm not familiar. I think it just disproved the ether. And they'll just reiterate this.
And the reason why is because these things were dealt with 120 years ago. That's why. 119 years ago. That's why this isn't the types of things that astrophysicists deal with today. It was dealt with 120 years ago. So it's not the kind of thing that they sit around and deal with and when they're doing their research. It was done.
Mantra that it supposedly disproved the ether. Dude, throw the ether out. This has nothing to do with the ether. If the Earth is moving underneath the light coming from the star, and the star is moving at a certain speed, we know how much it should displace based on how fast you claim the Earth is moving. 30 kilometers a second around the sun, 66,600 miles per hour. So based on that, how long we know the light should take, how fast the light is going, how fast the Earth is supposedly going, we know the angle at which we should have to tilt the telescope to be able to keep the star in the center of the telescope. If we slow that starlight down, we've increased the time it takes for the star to get to the moving Earth, the assumed to be moving Earth. Therefore, it should increase proportionate to that time difference.
If ether exists, and he won't say it.
Doesn't, it never will. It is a direct refutation of heliocentrism. Now, I know if you're new to this subject, that may be too much for you to accept or handle. That's fine. I'm not asking you to just believe me. I've explained the concept to you. We're going to cover it more extensively with all the receipts. But what you will see is there is no mainstream legitimate counter. It's all misrepresentations. But hopefully,
special
for some people
relativity.
that are not new to this subject, I really laid that out in a way that you're able to finally understand. I know some people were having trouble with it. I think that that's a very understandable concept once you apply the analogy to it. Okay. Hopefully, everything's still going good audio-wise. Can someone give me like a confirmation everything's good audio-wise?
It's good, Austin. We're all good.
All right. So next we have Kepler's law.
Now, once again, all this, keep in mind, his refutation of these things doesn't match flat Earth.
They describe, again, how planets move in elliptical orbits with the sun as a focus. A planet covers the same area of space in the same amount of time, no matter where it is in its orbit, and a planet's orbital period is proportional to the size of its orbit. Simply, Kepler's laws are a geometric description of planetary orbital cycles using ratios and periodicity. So the time period that elapses and the ratio between whatever, everything that's moving. That's really, it's that simple, right? Radii, which is just obviously the plurality of radius. So you're...
No, again, not again. Radii is not the plural of radius. It's not. And the fact that he can't pronounce these words correctly, right, I'm not going to, like, if people get pronunciations wrong, it's not that big of a deal. But what it does is it tells you some things. People consistently get some of these pronunciations wrong. If you don't know the plural of radius and how it's pronounced, it's because you've not studied the topic enough. Because when you study the topic and you discuss it with people and you listen to people talking about it, you know the pronunciation is not radii. You know that the pronunciation is not Euler. You know the pronunciation is not Gaussian. Right? When you've studied these things, you discuss them, you hear people talk about them, and they pronounce them generally, right? People get stuff wrong still, especially if they're French. Nobody can say French names. Nobody can, except for the French. But everybody else, like you can kind of, right? There's kind of these even if they're mispronounced, like Huygens, right? Huygens is a mispronunciation, right? It's closer to Huggins, but I can't even pronounce the correct way, right? Huggins, like I can't say it, but people say Huygens. So if you've been in classes and you've talked with people and you've done these work, people will say Huygens. They'll get the same mispronunciation even. But he's not studied these things. He's never done anything with radii. Oh yeah. Or yeah. Let me do a Fourier transform. All right.
You're just taking the ratio relationship and the periodicity of it. Now, we are going to really bury Kepler here in the future, but it's going to be tied into the dynamic episode. We're going to tie it into Newton.
No, he doesn't.
You can just derive Kepler from Newton.
Spoiler, he doesn't.
And it cancels out all the masses. All it is actually kinematics. So when we say it's a geometric description, that's of course what it is. It's kinematics. Now, this is from Luca Popov's paper, the Newton-Machian neotonic analysis. Quote, the next episode in this controversy is Kepler's system with elliptical orbits of planets around the sun. That system did not require epicycles. It was precise and elegant. It is therefore the general view that Kepler's work finally settled the question whether it is the sun or the earth that moves. But what is less known is that Tycho Brahe, Kepler's tutor, developed a geostatic system that was just as accurate and elegant as Kepler's. The sun orbits around the earth and all other planets orbit around the sun. The trajectories are ellipses and all of Kepler's laws are satisfied. In that moment of history, the Kepler's and Brahe's models were completely equivalent and equally elegant, since neither of them could explain the mechanism and reason why the orbits are the way that they are. It had to wait for Newton.
Now, correct. That is correct. Because they didn't have an analysis of the forces at play, right? And if you were to look at them at the time, not knowing about the forces, you would look at that and say, okay, there's some reasons why the forces aren't, right? They don't seem to work here. And Sea Lion Prime there super chatted to WItsit. Will you finally concede that you do not automatically get a kinematic equivalence over a flat Earth as you do with the geocentric spherical Earth? Now remember, all of these things are geocentric globe. None of these are flat Earth. None of these map to flat Earth. There is no way to go from the things he's presenting here to flat Earth. It's a complete dead end. It's an unscalable wall. But he just waves it off, right? And that's why this is a departure from 100% departure from flat Earth. All of these things refute flat Earth.
Okay, so just to make sure that everyone understands very simply, same with the retrograde. And this goes for things such as Venus's phases, all the claimed evidences that are supposedly exclusive to heliocentrism because of the interior planet's motions in relation to the Earth. It's all kinematic. None of that is exclusive. And of course, if you take the neotonic system, you could never claim it's exclusive to heliocentrism. It's just exactly the same thing. It has everything moving around the sun in relation to its general movement as a system around the Earth. Now, that is not the only viable options. We're going to cover what I actually consider even more viable, but not the point or the point that we're discussing right now. So,
more viable. It's hilarious that remember he lacks the capability to analyze these things and see that this isn't, it's not more viable. Not only is it not more viable, but it's not anything at all, right? He thinks that just because somebody wrote it down that it's peer reviewed, like he thinks that's how it works. Like if it was written down and peer reviewed, then we accept it. No, if it's peer reviewed, it's written down and peer reviewed and published. It's that the peer review isn't, I mean, yes, they do shake out some absolute nonsense there, but if people do the proper work and proper analysis and they get the math correct and they didn't make ridiculous, obvious mistakes, then yes, you can get things through peer review. It's a discussion, right? And there's two parts to it, and WItsit totally doesn't get this. There's the hypothetical part. The what about this? Proposing this. Could it be this? Not an experiment. These things that are proposed would have to be tested with an experiment. Then the other part of it, experiments and papers addressing the experiment. They're different, and he doesn't understand these things. He doesn't understand that there's a different thing. If you make a prediction in a paper that's a hypothetical, then you test that prediction in the paper that's doing the actual work. Just because you make a prediction doesn't mean that it's accepted science. Not at all. But he thinks it is.
So hopefully that made sense to you, but he laid it out pretty simply, right? Now, what he says, what is less known is that Tycho Brahe developed the geostatic system just as accurate and elegant. Not only is it less known, it's tactically omitted. No.
And the reason why it's omitted is because it was wrong. Right? So I mean, it's you don't include in the description of how things work the 7,000 different ideas that people had that turned out to be wrong. You can't. There's too many. Right? Was it notable enough to include? Maybe if it's notable enough, you could include it. But if you're going through things, you can't cover the entire history in detail. People don't care. Right? You're taking a class. How long are you going to spend in your class talking about the things that led up to Kepler and the things that then were confirmed? And Kepler's ideas was chosen out of the many possible things. Where, why, who, don't know, right? There's too many.
No one knows about it. But you know what's even more or less known? To remind you, this was actually in the first episode. This is from Kepler's Fabricated Figures, Covering Up the Mess in the New Astronomy by Dr. William Donahue, a journal for the history of astronomy in 88. Quote, we might at this point condemn Kepler of fraud and bring the case to a close, but this would be to ignore what is perhaps the most fascinating question. Why did he do it? How could Kepler, with his high regard for the truth, perpetrate such a patent fraud? Now, I don't know where he gets this assumption that he has a high regard for the truth, because my investigations into this guy is quite the opposite. He's extremely sketchy and has no true moral fiber whatsoever. But
kettle, pot.
All that aside, what he's discussing is how Kepler's touted as having proven, the Earth moves around the sun. It's so perfect, it all works out so well. It actually doesn't. He lied. The observational data didn't match his computational data, and he just lied about it. He literally doctored it all. We're going to bury him in the future. It might be in the next one. We're going to fully expose exactly what I'm discussing when I say that. By the way, it's been totally censored and suppressed and hidden. You have to use a Wayback Machine to find half the receipts. It's such a joke. So just know I'm actually diligently researching to find all this stuff the best I can. It's very time consuming, and obviously
this is what's interesting. He thinks that because somebody had something that maybe was some historical issues with it, that then it falsifies the reality of it. It doesn't, right? So I don't know specifically what he's talking about here. I don't know what this guy here that he quoted here is talking about, right? He has Kepler's Fabricated Figures, Covering Up the Mess, the New Astronomy, Dr. Will, right? It's about history. That's not about science. It's about history. Okay, fine. Whatever. Maybe there's something. Don't know. I didn't read it. Don't care. It doesn't matter. Kepler's laws of planetary motion are correct. So how he got there, was it shady or not? It doesn't make them wrong. Doesn't make how he got there right if he did it wrong. Doesn't make it wrong if he got there right. The fact is that they're right. That's what matters. And so he's like getting in this is poisoning the well. It's literally just a poisoning the well fallacy. That somehow because he thinks that it was he wasn't the right way to do it, because WItsit, the truther, who cares so much about the truth that he would never lie, except he lies all the time, right? I don't know. Was it shady? I don't know. Could have been Slim Shady. Let me get on this here. Josh Garver, thank you very much. Comes in with his third super chat ever, $99.99. That says math, number 3, right there. Thank you, Josh, so much. I appreciate it. That's a rather short super chat for how much you put into it. Thank you so much. So, Darkstar 4400 says maybe Austin needs a container, just a guess. And did I miss one? Oh, no. So Josh came back later with just a regular chat that said, oh, so Austin isn't special needs. Okay, I'll keep laughing at him. Bearded Logic did, and I missed one almost, says MC Tune for president. No, I would not. Definitely would not want to. I wouldn't. No, please. This is so much more fun. Look, it's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. I haven't yet even finished the coffee. Give me a second. And we haven't gotten to WItsit's like nutso stuff at the end. So Daryl Frost says, does he not know that peer review is before the paper is published and that it's not a review of the paper by public after publishment? I don't think he quite knows. I have heard him say like there's I forgot who it was, but there was a guy that had proposed a different explanation for the cause of gravity being electrical, right? And the guy also claimed that antimatter repelled regular matter. There was a proposal in this paper, a legitimate proposal that many people had. And Austin over and over is like, this is accepted science. No, it's not accepted science. It's a guy making a proposal. But like everything that WItsit cites, it's a first law of flare confirmation because this paper proposed that gravity was electrical in nature and went through some things to try to establish that. But it still confirmed that mass attracts mass. So it doesn't change the ramifications for flat Earth, whether it's derived from bending and warping of space-time or electrical. The fact is still mass attracts mass, and a large enough mass will collapse. So anyway, antimatter has been then measured, I think it was 2 years ago now, as in a test, was confirmed to be affected by normal gravity. So antimatter and matter both have the same response to gravity. So it was they had anti-hydrogen in a containment field, and the anti-hydrogen was kept there, and they anti-hydrogen is difficult to make. They had a rather small number of molecules, like a countable number of molecules of hydrogen, anti-hydrogen, in this containment field. And anyway, then they opened up the top and bottom to allow it to escape. And some escaped up. It's a gas, right? So it goes in random distribution directions, but it went down significantly more than it went up, so it was affected by gravity. So they confirmed gravity. Anyway, so that paper then, that part of the paper at least, was disconfirmed. So that guy on that thing says, I have a test for you to try while on your trip. If you put a row of flags on the 80th parallel, could you see the curve over half mile? Could you test that while you're there? I I don't have flags, but the curvature of the Earth is essentially the same there. So I don't need to be on the ice to do that. You could be anywhere to do that. You can do it on a beach, and you could try to go there, like go to any beach and go kind of on a calm day if you can, so that the water is kind of at the same spot, and set up a row of flags. But over half a mile, the sagitta of a half a mile is not that big. All right, I'll pull up. I gotta pull it up. How many meters in the chat? How many meters is half a mile? How many meters is half a mile? Thanks, Tommy Buttplug. I appreciate that. Did he maybe trace a latitude? Oh, did you mean trace a latitude? I don't. Okay, 800 meters. Okay, 800 meters. So let's see here. In 800 meters, what is the sagitta? 12.6 millimeters. So, that's 1.2 centimeters. It's less than it's like half an inch. It's right on half an inch. So, that's not a lot. It's not a lot. You need a lot more than that, but yeah, I mean, some people, sometimes it's sometimes a little anti-intuitive, counterintuitive that when it's like people think, well, when you're at the poles, like the curvature is different. Like it's not. Actually, at the poles, the curvature is a little bit less. It's not, unless you have super precise instrumentation. You can't measure it because you're looking too many significant figures deep to see it. So, Pierre Joshak says, when you're at the South Pole, when I wave at you from Finland, can you wave back at me? I'll be watching. I will. So did that. I mean, this little program I wrote this little program years ago. I use it all the time. Okay.
I have lots of bills. We won't get into that, but if anyone knows what happened recently, then you get it. But
oh yeah, you know what happened recently? Austin's crypto account was hacked because David Weiss's app is garbage, and somebody exfiltrated Austin's email address and password. And it seems, I have no confirmation on this, but it seems to me that that password was exfiltrated and then used to hack into his email account, and then used to hack to his crypto account somewhere, and then somebody took all his crypto. So thanks, Dave Weiss. I'm sure Dave Weiss will be paying Austin back for that.
You're going to be amazed at not only the evidence that's being omitted, but how it's now being actively suppressed and censored, which makes no sense. Makes no sense. This is a cosmological discussion. Certainly, if it's definitively the mainstream model, right? Why would you hack? Who's doing that? Anyway, so that's just a reminder there. I threw that in. And of course, to really drive home this point here, we can take either the Earth or the Sun, or any other point for that matter, as the center of the quote-unquote solar system. This is certainly so for the kinematical problem of describing the planetary motions. What does that mean? Anything that you invoke regarding the planetary motions could not be proof of heliocentrism ever, whether that's just the planetary cycles themselves, Kepler's laws, the ratios, the periodicities, the retrograde, the perihelion shift, which we'll actually cover that in the dynamic portion as well. And I'm just going to try to keep the dynamic portion under an hour. Honestly, that's going to be the challenge. So anyway, very important concept to understand here. Nothing that is observed in terms of celestial motion could ever prove the Earth moving around the sun. It is also possible to...
So now, just for reference, this is his cherry picking quotes portion, right? None of this is evidence. None of this is based on anything other than just finding quotes, right? So this guy, astronomer Fred Hoyle, wrote a whole bunch of things, many things, right? And he found this one quote. I don't know if Fred Hoyle was a geocentrist, a globe geocentrist or not. if this is just something that is kind of, you know, whatever he found that kind of sort of supports him. And that if you were to ask Fred Hoyle, do you agree with what WItsit is asserting that you are saying here? Probably Fred would say, what? Shut up, Austin. Don't use me. What are you putting in my mouth? Don't do that. So although recognition is, let's see, certainly not so for the kinematical problem of describing the planetary motions. Again, just talking about, you still need to have a reason. Why is this happening? He can't touch that.
We'll take any point as the center, even in dynamics. Although recognition of this freedom of choice has to await the present century. And it actually still is completely omitted. It's completely censored. It's not even allowed to be published. It's actually a joke.
Because it's a joke. That's why.
So we'll cover that again, that second part in the dynamic portion. Another quote from Fred Hoyle, if you're not familiar with him, this is the guy who coined the term Big Bang. It was, of course, a derogatory term because he considered it such an asinine idea, and he would, of course, be correct. Quote, we know that the difference between a heliocentric theory and a geocentric theory is one of relative motion only, and that such a significance has no physical significance, or such a difference has no physical difference. Okay, so we did briefly cover these in the previous episodes, but I want you to really understand this. Kepler's laws is just, again, it's kinematics. We discussed Kepler in the previous episode. That's just geometry. It's describing how things are moving. And when you want to figure out exactly why they're moving or the causal mechanism, like how as in the cause of it, then that's dynamic.
Yeah. Fred Hoyle isn't living anymore. Otherwise, we could contact him and say, do you agree with what WItsit is saying that you agree with? And Fred would say no.
It's entirely different. That's physics. That's explanatory. That's a scientific explanation when you get into dynamics. And of course, to truly scientifically verify a dynamic claim, you need to directly manipulate it and prove it is the causal claim. You can't directly scientifically verify any of the causal mechanisms of the motions in the sky. What you can...
No. Again, this goes back to Austin's misunderstanding of science. Now, right? He's taken, you know, Oakley trashes WItsit constantly now, right? But here he is parroting Oakley's misunderstanding of science. Brilliant.
Can do, however, is you can omit and exclude certain claims, positive claims about the cause mechanism of motion in the sky based on observational inconsistencies or impossibilities. So I want to keep it simple. I kind of start to get where I start rattling things off. So I'm running a bit, but very simple concept. Just saying it enough times to where surely, you know, if there's some cognizance here, you can just accept it as what it is. Whatever the truth is, that should be what we're pursuing. And so we shouldn't ever need to misrepresent things in order to...
Oh, then why are you misrepresenting things, Austin?
Pursue that. And one more quote from him.
All right, now let's move on.
Out the year, as seen from a fixed location on the Earth. And again, it's allegedly caused by the tilt of the Earth, the spin and orbit of the Earth. Simply put, this alleged proof that the Earth is in orbital motion while the sun is at rest is that the sun is observed to be moving throughout the year. Again, it is claimed that the fact we observe the sun to move throughout the year is proof that it is not moving. It is beyond asinine.
So, yeah, this is him doing a misinterpretation of our position, right? We don't claim the sun is not moving. The entire solar system is moving. But in the center of our solar system is the barycenter, and the sun is very near the barycenter. That's it. Jeez.
To claim that this would prove the heliocentric model. It's insane. This is a steel man. This is a steel man of...
It's not a steel man.
The asinine position, meaning it is the strongest that you can make that position, right? To say, I think what causes it is the Earth moving, that's one thing. People present this as proof that we're moving around the sun. And what you're saying at that point is the proof that the Earth is moving around the sun and that the sun is at rest is that we see the sun moving. The proof the sun is not moving is that we observe it to be moving throughout the year. That's ridiculous. Obviously.
My gosh. Like, yeah, this is... whenever he claims that he's doing a steel man, it's not a steel man. That's not the claim. It's the evidence that the Earth is moving is the analemma. The Earth is moving is the analemma. And he's like, anyway, just looking at kinematics, it establishes that there's a relative motion between the Earth and the Sun, and that the Earth and Sun are very far from each other, and that there's an angle between the plane of Earth's equator and the plane of Earth's orbit around the Sun, and that the distance between them varies slightly. It's evidence for all of those things in kinematics. And then the dynamics are, the Earth orbits the sun annually, and you can use the mass of the sun and the periodicity of the Earth's orbit and the law of gravitational attraction, and then they have that absolute relationship that you can't just fudge that. And you can. This is a cool thing. I should do this at some point, but you can determine the mass of an object based on the periodicity of and the distance of one of its satellites. So we can determine based on the period how long it takes the Earth to orbit the sun, and the distance between the Earth and the sun to determine the mass of the sun. We can do the same for Venus, for Mercury, for Mars, for Jupiter, for all the planets, and get different lines of evidence for the mass of the sun. Right? And the cool thing is, they agree. When you have multiple lines of evidence that agree, well, that's very strong confirming evidence. And then you can do the same. You say, well, you can determine the mass of the Earth by the orbit of the moon. You can determine the mass of Jupiter by the orbit of its moons. Actually, have the determine mass from orbit right there. What did I do on that? So there are, I did a whole bunch. So let's see, sun with Earth orbiting. So with this, determining the mass of the sun from these numbers, the Earth with a mass of, how did I get that? 200. Okay, yep. Using the distance between the Earth and the sun as measured by Res Rhetoric and Astronomy Live of 151 million kilometers. And so he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10 significant figures in their measurement. And they did it only one time, so they didn't get an average, right? So you need to use an average, so you need more measurements to get a more precise value. But I'm like, you can do these things as an amateur. You can determine the distance between the Earth and the sun as an amateur to a good precision, and the orbital period of the Earth to be 365 days. Right? I'm gonna give this to everybody here. And determine the mass of the sun to be 2.08 times 10 to the 30 kilograms. Right? And then you can say, well, that's amateur stuff, right? It's 365.25 days. 365 and a quarter. Not that precise on the orbital period of the Earth. We know it to many more digits than that. And the distance wasn't an average, it was a single snapshot. So not a statistical average. So we can then go to the other side of it and we can say, well, let's take the distance of the sun between the Earth and the sun from iau.org of 149,597,870.7 kilometers. Right? It's very precise. And the orbital period of 365.2536,004 days. And we can get the mass of the sun to be 1.9888 times 10 to the 30 kilograms. Super close to the amateur measurement of the mass of the sun. Anyway, so we can determine that, and different things have in the solar system output the same results. What does that mean? That means it's very likely to be true. And there's the dynamic. So what does Austin have? He won't have anything. Spoiler. He won't have anything. At all. Nothing at all. You can say kinematics all you want. It doesn't solve the problem. So, all right, I'm going to move on from analemma. It's not interesting. He doesn't spend much time on it, but we get to the Doppler effect. All right.
On Earth. And that's on a fixed Earth assumption as well. All right. So next, this is one that's less known about or talked about, supposed Doppler effect. This is the mainstream model's claim. So the heliocentric claim says, in relation to the supposed claim of proof, stellar Doppler shift proves that the Earth orbits the sun, and this is a direct quote from a mainstream source, by the way. Stellar Doppler shift proves the Earth orbits the sun by showing a periodic change in the wavelengths of light from nearby stars throughout the year, which occurs because Earth is moving towards some stars and away from others as it revolves around the sun, causing a detectable shift in the light's frequency. Blue shift when approaching, red shift when receding, essentially acting as a proof of Earth's motion around the sun. The shift is measurable and consistent with the Earth's orbital path. Now, just make sure everyone understands the concept, right? So like it says right here, it's a blue shift when something's coming towards you. It's a red shift that is moving away. It's very similar to sound, right? An ambulance coming to you sounds one way, and it starts to change the way it sounds as it gets in front of you, and then it starts to change as it gets away from you, right? And so the idea is that light is doing this as well. You get the red shift and the blue shift. And red shift and blue shift is a real phenomenon that can be observed. For example, we can see light red shift whenever it's in plasma. We can replicate it in a lab. We can also replicate it with electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic retardation. Now, what they're saying here is that because throughout the year we see that certain stars are red shifting and certain stars are blue shifting, the frequency of the light from the star is closer towards the blue end or the red end of the spectrum, that proves that the Earth is moving around the sun and getting closer to or further away from the stars.
Yep.
Right?
Totally true. Yep.
Oh, sorry, wrong one. So, of course, if you look here, another option is just that everything's moving in relation to the Earth again. Once again, what is actually observed is celestial motion. So, of course, the star could be moving in relation to Earth, as is observed.
Okay, so this is...
Once again, this is not in any way evidence of heliocentrism.
Both the sun and the Earth are moving in this one a dramatic amount.
Now, I want to cover this general concept here that is oftentimes stated. And actually what we'll do is we'll play this while I do it. So, what...
All right, so just once again, remember his proposal here is incompatible with flat Earth. And I don't know. I don't understand why his flat Earth fans are just sitting there saying, oh, okay. It doesn't make sense. But they accept it. So, all right, I'm preparing a little diagram for this one here. And similar to aberration, he's got the same problem as with aberration. But let's hear if he brings anything here.
But people think, and I know how people's mind works, right? This is what they think. They think, do you think it's just a coincidence that the heliocentric model, it has a very specific claim that the Earth is orbiting around the sun, 66,600 miles per hour, right? 30 kilometers a second, and that it has an elliptical orbit and it's on a 23.4 degree tilt. And do you think it's just a coincidence that all these observations match the model? This is how people's mind thinks. So when they approach the conversation, this is what they think. They're like,
no, this isn't how people think. This is that people figured things out. They figured these things out. It's not a coincidence that the things that were figured out match. That's not how it was happened. And he's strawmanning, claiming that people make this claim here. And I don't know, maybe some people that don't understand the topic do, right? But people that do understand the topic aren't saying, oh, isn't it coincident that the things that we say about the Earth and the sun match the things that actually happen with the Earth and the sun? No, it was the other way around.
well, look, I mean, the stellar aberration matches the prediction. The stellar parallax matches the prediction. The seasons and the analemma, the position of the sun, matches the prediction. The red and blue shift, the Doppler effect, based on the stars, based on where the Earth is in its orbit in the model, matches the prediction. And I think that means it's right. That has to mean that it's correct. And that is incredibly short-sighted, and it is actually just a misunderstanding of how it all works. For example, let's use the tilt, for example. How did they supposedly discover the tilt of the Earth of 23.4 degrees? Did someone pop out in space and just randomly decide what true vertical is and then measure an angle off of it with some giant ruler?
Oh my gosh. He says he likes to steal, man, but then he says this. Nope, that's not.
Of course not. Was the tilt measured? Was the Earth, did
Yes.
someone step outside of the Earth and measure that it's tilted?
Not
at
by
23.4
stepping
degree
outside,
angle?
no.
No, it was never measured. The way that people came up with the 23.4
It was measured, though, Austin.
degree number was they looked at the sun and they saw that it has an ecliptic path throughout the year. It moves at an angle in relation to us, and it creates this analemma, right? This asymmetric.
No, it wasn't. It's not the analemma. It was the subsolar point. The maximum and minimum subsolar points.
figure 8. And so based on the angle it's observed, they said, oh, that must mean that it's the Earth tilted at that angle, creating the illusion that the sun is moving at that angle.
Yes.
So then if you turn around and say, it has to be true, you think it's just a coincidence that it matches? No, it's not a coincidence that it matches. That's how it was created. Literally, the observation that you're claiming it matches was the prerequisite to the tilt claim. Okay, this is how all this works. When it comes to the sidereal rotations, when it comes to the annual precession of the sky, everything is based on what was observed. Okay, so if we see that there's this motion moving around the Earth, and that a lot of things move in relation to the sun as everything moves around the Earth, and you reverse engineer it and claim that it's all an illusion, it's directly the opposite of what's observed. It's actually all just apparent motion, but that stuff isn't truly moving. It's all at rest, and the Earth is moving, causing the illusion. Over time, you could create the exact elliptical orbit, how long it takes the Earth to supposedly make a revolution around the sun, what speed it's going.
We didn't create it. We figured these things out based on evidence.
And then you would turn around now in 2024 and have people saying, look, it matches, it has to be true. Nothing could be further from the truth, right? And so I just wanted to address that overall meta concept, because I know that's where a lot of people get stuck. Now, I know a lot of people are familiar with this, and we'll just kind of recap it right here, what the primary claims were. So it's retrograde. That's how the planets apparently move backwards. Now, they're not actually moving backwards in the heliocentric model. They just appear to, because as the planet, say Mercury, moves in between the Earth and the sun, and we continue to move past it, it's going to make Mercury look like it's going backwards, but actually it just kept going in the same direction the whole time. In the neotonic system, it's exactly the same. It's identical to that explanation, that based on the relative motion between the Earth and the sun and this planet, say Mercury, it's going to appear to go backwards, even though it's not. You're simply moving the center of the coordinate system over to the Earth. Also, if the planets were to ever slow down, we are actually mapping them out in relation to the background stars, so it would appear that they go backwards if they just slow down in relation to the rest of the motion. And again, there are many different explanations, but another one is that it could be actual physical forces based on a magnetic field, and it's actually seeking equilibrium. And within the pressure mediation of that magnetic field, that's the exact geometry that takes place. We can examine this with the ferrocell.
The pressure ferrocell. The pressure mediation of a magnetic field. He's like, it could be an actual magnetic field causing the planets to do those things. What would the strength of that magnetic field have to be? Like, there could be many explanations. No, there couldn't. Okay. I'm working on something for you. All right. He's doing a summary here. So he's done with the main part of it. So we need to get on. He does get into a little bit of that nuttery I was talking about. So I'll get to that in a second. But until then, all right, here we go. It won't surprise you that this is the sun that I'm doing here. I cut out a sun. The reason why is because it needs to move. All right. Oh, man, I remember in second grade, our teacher was aggressive on when you color at the same angle. When you're filling in, you have to do it at the same angle. And if you didn't, the teacher hated it. It was like her pet peeve. And one time, I colored the sun with yellow, and it was so good that you couldn't tell which direction I was scribbling. Anyway. I don't know why I thought that was cool, but I have that memory from second grade. Okay, so here is on... this is the geocentric, right? So that we've got the Earth fixed here, and the sun for geocentric is farther away. It's 93 million miles away still, but the sun on June 21st is up here on geocentric, and then a day later the sun has to go and orbit. Right, the sun orbits this way every day. Behind, I get stuck going behind, but right, that's what the sun does every day. And that, and why, don't know. But then it goes from doing an orbit at this inclination to doing an orbit at this inclination. What causes that inclination to change? Magic, just magic, right? But it goes from this angle here on December 21st to this angle here on June 21st. Also, simultaneously, the stars are pinned to the sun. And so when he's talking about the redshift blue shift, we don't see the redshift blue shift on the stars here, right? We see the aberration on the stars here. The redshift blue shift we see on the stars here, on this plane here. But the problem is that the stars are moving with the sun every day. So they're going around in circles here, and then somehow on top of this happening, the stars moving with the sun, the stars move farther away in relation to the sun and the earth part of the year, and then move toward this the other part of the year. Why? No reason provided, but it just does. But the fact is, the problem is that the sun and stars are moving like this. So this redshift, blue shift he was talking about, that isn't, this motion isn't included in that. It right? We would see a difference because of this happening, but we don't. We don't see that. So, I'm watching with the sound down and music. Anyway, it is a different, yeah. And I had to, I had to work to I read through Sun Genesis book. I read some stuff by Bennett on how these things work. I had to get, right, for them, for their claims. And Sun Genesis and Bennett are neotonic geocentrist globers. Robert Sun Genesis actually wrote a book debunking flat Earth. Anyway, WItsit just can't get enough of these two guys and their geocentric claims. And so once again, let me just remind you, this entire presentation that WItsit just did, these are his claims, his kinematic equivalences that he's talking about. Earth is a globe. The sun is millions of miles away. The sun orbits Earth daily, which he never once addressed. All of his diagrams didn't show that. The other planets orbit the sun due to gravity. The other planets are millions of miles away, and the suns and the stars orbit the sun. So, yes, again, and why does the sun have this angle on June 21st, and it's going at this inclination, and then 6 months later, it's at this inclination orbiting the Earth? Why is that? Why is the sun and you're missing, right? There's half of a year worth of sun orbiting the Earth every, from here to here. And I can't do that when I do that, right? There's too much. But why? No reason. No reason. All right. And we got to get to his nuttery here. Sea Lion Prime says, demonstrate right there. Demonstrate the equivalence, and I'll concede. Simple as. Yeah, he won't. So
we take ferrofluid, we actually put it between the two optical flats, which is just a fancy word for really, really smooth, flat pieces of glass. We squeeze the liquid down. We can glue the outside of it, wrap LED lights around it. Once you put it over a magnet, the magnet moves the fluid around based on the field and the ferrofluid that's in it. The magnetoreactive material in it moves around because of the magnetic field, and the light is going to let you see what looks like interference lines. We won't get too into magnetism because that is a very perplexing and profound, confounding phenomenon. So
none of that has anything to do with why planets orbiting the sun would do anything, right? The strength of the magnetic field would be magnanimous. It would be huge.
Anyway, there are many explanations for it dynamically, right? But that doesn't matter. The point is that it's a kinematic observation and it isn't exclusive whatsoever. We also have stellar parallax. Again, what you do is you're going to use the S and F, right? So the sun near far. So you're going to choose a near star and a far star, and you're going to see what the angle between those two do throughout the year. Does it change? Is there slight shift? Now, in reality, these observational claims are such minor, percentages of a degree that's supposedly changing. It's insane.
Yeah, and it's an interesting. We see this a lot with flat earthers. They can't believe that somebody could measure something to a high degree of precision. Therefore, it must not be true. So, all right, I'm going to jump up to his nuttery here. He's just giving us a little peek into it. I'm looking for it. Just a second. I'm looking through the transcript to get the time code. I found it, but I need to really. There it is, 119. So we're at 103. We're going to jump to 119.45 about. So All right. All right. Listen to this. This is just a peek. It's just a peek. Sea Lion Prime had mentioned this a little bit too. He's getting there. This is the part I was talking about that's hinting towards Jim Jones, David Koresh, Heaven's Gates.
Donate somewhere on the database, which is, it's like in its infancy, right? So there's not much on there right now. I was messing with all kinds of different platforms. I didn't want to overdo it, so I decided, but where you can kind of support building the database, and we'll do it that way. So cool. Okay. Thank you guys for kicking it. Sorry, it went a little bit over, but it's not too long. And I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. We have Skull and Globers, episode 2 of season 2 tomorrow, and a lot of other stuff coming up. I will do a stream. I'm going to do I kind of did a series about Nostradamus, so I'll play off.
Nostradamus. What's Nostradamus? Nostradamus is Nostradamus with Austin at the front. He is equating himself to Nostradamus. Let me back that up again. I want you to hear that. Yeah, I know how it works, Max, but I was doing it in a different window. I didn't pull up the transcript in this window. But yeah, let's listen to that again. Pay attention.
Tomorrow we have Skull and Globers, episode 2 of season 2.
I'm going to play it at regular speed too.
Tomorrow, and a lot of other stuff coming up. I will do a stream. I'm going to do I kind of did a series about Nostradamus, so I'll play off of my name, Austin, and Nostradamus, of course, about how back in the day, I literally put my face on Nostradamus, and I said Nostradamus, predicting that Trump would team up with Elon. He would come in as the hero. He would update the entire system, and that it would look like he was kind of coming true to some extent, and that would actually happen, and they would update the whole system underneath the guise of a golden age. And I predicted all kinds of stuff that he's doing right now, like he getting fully behind digital assets, getting rid of the income tax. It's pretty crazy. So I'm going to do a show where I really break that down. And depending on how well it goes and the feedback, we may kind of consistently talk about it at times. But the predictions are on point. It's pretty crazy. And I did that, for anywhere from 3 to 4 years ago. Many times it's pretty clearly starting to manifest. So I will do that this week.
He didn't do that this week. So yes, he does see himself as a Nostradamus type figure. He does, think that he's been prophesying things. On the other hand, people who look at current events put things together and say, oh, this is the type of thing that might happen. There's nothing supernatural about that. There's just people that are looking at things and saying, oh, that's a possibility. And if you throw out enough possibilities and then cherry pick them after the fact, well, then, right? Then you didn't predict the future. You just happened to get lucky saying something. But yes, he's literally, yeah, that's where I'm like, this is just a peek into it, right? He thinks he's prophesying. He thinks he's speaking for God. So, yeah. He does kind of think he's a little bit of a, prophet. Anyway, more like Nostradamus. All right. We got Benjamin Needens says, hey, Attune, I found a full version of the Magic Voyage for you. Where can I send the link so you can show the flirts? You could email me, mctoon@mctoon.net. I don't know if I'm going to play a cartoon for them. I doubt that WItsit is going to be hanging out near me a whole lot, because I'm just going to be poking. I'm going to be like, hey, I'm doing I'm doing the hit piece. Documentary. So make sure you stay away from the camera for my documentary. If you don't want to be on the hit piece, the documentary, then don't be in front of the camera. So yeah, but do send that to there. I know how to find them too. It's okay. Vibe says, if you ever have time, do check out the new hit song and video for It's WItsit Humbly on the Discord VM. I will. I'll check it out. Thank you, Vibe. I think I saw that, and I think I have it sitting queued up to look at. Where is it? No. Where is it? No, send it. Oh, there it is. Okay, I see it. I see it. Okay. Let's see. We got Jay Donashis for $20. Says, I have a better prove Earth at the National Flat Earth Convention. Have something set up with people on the space station so they could shine a light at the space station at the same time because there are lights they can see. People have done that, and flat earthers just say nuh-uh. So that's the problem. Like you can film it, you can see it go in front of the sun or in front of the moon, and they're still like nuh-uh. So yeah. That it's good. It's difficult to coordinate because you'd have to get them in real time to be looking. And so some people did do that. Like it took a pretty good sized group of people getting together saying that they're going to shine a light at the ISS to just get news to the ISS so they knew to look at the right time. But yeah, that would be a good thing. It's just kind of difficult to do to get that enough, that amount of coordination. And do it at the National Flat Earth Convention. So the Flat Earth Convention has turned into, it's not that big. I don't know if it's still going to happen because it totally got washed out because of the hurricane this year. Flattoberfest. So I don't know. I got a vid from Qantas QF14 Buenos Aires to Darwin flying over Antarctica in DM. Oh my goodness. Really? I will watch. I'm not going to watch that right now, but I will watch that. So I think, so here's my thoughts on this. I think that Austin's number 4, which we didn't watch, we'll do it. I'll do that like next week or something. Next week is Thanksgiving, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, next week is Thanksgiving. Everything, like my whole schedule, there's one day in my schedule, December 9th. That's it. Everything is leading up to that. I'm like, I need to do this. I need to make sure that I can really work the sextant that I have. I need to really be able to use that. And I'd like to go do it somewhere. I want to measure the distance between lines of longitude here before I go to Antarctica. I would like to measure the Earth's magnetic field. Oh, I didn't show you that. I got this. So thanks to Riz Lawden, who is a flurf, who was talking about measuring Earth's magnetic field. So this just came today. So this is a little mini computer, and I don't know enough about this one. I think it is a it's an Arduino, is it? Does anybody know about this? Is it an Arduino? Anyway, so this is the head unit. It's got the screen here, and then it's got the actual CPU in it. This is the magnetometer is in here, and then this is the cable that's needed. So I'm going to have this magnetometer is accurate enough, apparently, to measure the strength of Earth's magnetic field. So I'd like to get this. I need to get that going before. So I have a bunch of things to do, and I got like 2.5 weeks. So plus there's Thanksgiving in the middle there. So, and I want to do, I have the laser rangefinder is yet to come. And I think that's it. Once I have that, then I'm going to lay out on my table and do a video showing all of the different things. And then maybe I'd like to do one video just like off the hip where I'm just going over each individual thing and showing what I'm going to do. Cause I'm going to do a lot of different tests, on the trip, and I want to document them. I have the, on my Discord server in the TFE channel, I have a link to my website where I'm documenting them, and I'm saying, hey, if people want to contribute like support, like look at my predictions and maybe critique them and review them, make sure I'm getting them right. So at Dr. Nimrod, are you most excited? What are you most excited about going to Antarctica? Oh, everything. I don't know. I'm just absolutely, there's 9 flights. There's 9 flights. So over 9 flights, I'm hoping to measure the dip of the horizon multiple times. I'm looking forward to being in Punta Arenas. I'm looking forward to hanging out with Will and Critical Think and Dave McKeegan. I'm actually very much looking forward to meeting Jaron in person. There's no penguins though. Yeah, Janusz Taka says, look at my predictions and commitments video, please. I will. I pulled that up, but then today I started playing and I didn't have time. So I finally had time. Finally could manufacture time. Will I be bringing McFlatty in a bag? He seems to think that he's going to come in the bag, but things don't work that way. So, am I going to bring a spirit level on the plane? I am bringing a spirit level. Oh, you know what I did? So Antarctica is very dry, and you need you want lip balm is one of the things that they say to bring, and then also to keep your hands from getting dry, you want to bring some lotion for your hands, so and your skin. So I made some. I'll show you. Here you go. Okay. There we go. So this is my own recipe for hand lotion. It's beeswax, olive oil, coconut oil, and some other stuff. And then this is a travel size compatible thing that I'm bringing. So this will be going with me. And this is like what for the family. Oh, I need to have it here for you to see it. This is for the family. So anyway, it's the same stuff in the lip balm. So it's actually, there you go. So anyway, and it has a slight beeswax smell. It's very, very nice stuff. Oh, my wife, it's not ready yet. My wife set up an Etsy shop and will probably sell this stuff there. If you're interested, I'll tell you when it's ready. So Emerson Biggins says, you've been sounding like you're getting sick lately. You need to rest and get yourself well before the trip. No, I am not. This time of year, the mucus goes. That's just what it does. So I cough a little more and I get a little more head stuff. My dad had a lot of sinus issues. I don't have it, fortunately. And my sister's already had some sort of a procedure that she had to do similar to what my dad did. But like right now, I'm like, it's in my neck. It's not I don't have, to my knowledge, I don't feel any sickness or anything like that. So do I raise my own bees? No, these are my sister, my other sister, from their bees. So for reference, when I went to Texas for the eclipse, I stayed at my sister's place in Texas. And by my sister's place, I mean just a hunk of land. I think it's 20 acres that they have, where they bring their bees in the winter. So they bring their bees down there every year, down to this place in Texas. So we camped at the place. Nobody else was there. It's no permanent building or anything. So anyway, so these bees are Minnesota bees, and they're sometimes Texas bees. So that do this. So they do harvest their own honey, and they get their own beeswax. So that's where that beeswax is from. That's where this beeswax is from. So yeah, drop the MC Toon skincare routine. I don't do much. I don't do much. So I'm going to call it Tunes Wax. Oh my gosh. Justin Wright, for chronic sinusitis, I had that surgery. I was supposed to be 2 hours. Mine was like 8 hours. Oh, jeez. I remember my dad when he had it. They packed his sinuses with a whole bunch of cotton, and he told me about how they just kept pulling it out. Like, oh. I could also use a Raspberry Pi. I could, but did somebody confirm this is Arduino? I have programmed the Arduino before. But yeah, I'm a programmer. I'm not that concerned. Am I doing anything to try to acclimate before I go? Maybe a blast freezer. Well, I live in Minnesota, and so when I was first looking at going, I'm like, oh, it was like August or September. I'm like, oh, I'm in Minnesota. I'll acclimate because it'll have been winter for like a month and a half. But we haven't had that. Like today it got cold, 31, like just below freezing. So we haven't had that much cold weather yet. So, but yeah, I will. I have been like doing things. I've been like not dressing as warmly on purpose. So I don't know. Shifty says I'm a huge fan of honey as medicine and royal jelly and bee pollen and propolis. I have all for hat combined into raw honey. Yeah, my mom was into that too. Didn't help. I don't know. Yeah, Duluth did. Yeah, Duluth didn't even have. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it there. Next week is going to be a little different. I'm not sure. It's Thanksgiving, so a couple different than usual. But I'll try to get in as not everybody has Thanksgiving. And if you aren't doing anything on a Thursday night at 10 p.m. and you're like, hey. Like, yeah, maybe I will do one. I don't know. I don't know what the schedule is yet. Our big family Thanksgiving is not on Thursday. It's going to be on Sunday. So anyway, Ian says I had surgery for chronic sinusitis. They used a self-dissolving nasal packing after. Oh, that's interesting. Have you started going to buy groceries in your underwear? No, I've not. I totally should. Okay, people, I will, oh man, I love the Broverload. We're going to get some Broverload on the way out. Everybody, thank you very much for joining. Oh, I got one. Bearded Logic says you could use Raspberry Pi. I think I read that already. Thank you. Anyway, thank you, everybody. The super chats, the members, and even you don't have to share it somewhere. That means a lot to me. Give it a thumbs up. All of those things help. So I really appreciate it. And of course, all of the people so many people helped. I got this. I got stuff to put in there. So anyway, people, thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
I'm Nathan Thompson. Joe Biden. Oh, and the earth is flat. This dude thinks the earth is flat? For me, blah, blah, blah. A brain coach. Oh, the battery's dead. Oh, bro. Like you. Hey, bro, where are my AirPods? I was like, bro. No, bro. And I'm like, what?
This isn't the one. This isn't the song. Hold on. I'm going to switch it to the song.
Cool story, bro. So I'm like, wow. I literally never saw.
All right, here's the song.
I'm Nathan Thompson, Joe Biden. Oh, and the earth is flat. This dude thinks the earth is flat for me. Blah, brain coach. Oh, the battery's dead. Oh, bro, like you. Hey, bro, where are my AirPods? I was like, bro, no, bro. And I'm like, what, bro? Like, I like, bro, cool story, bro. So I'm like, wow, I literally never saw the dude not drunk, bro. Like, literally ever, okay? It's like, dude, I gave it to you, bro. Get an F in life, bro. Hey, bro, cry me a river, bro. Oh, wow. Are you what a psycho, bro? Ha, later, bro. Hello, what a psycho, bro. He said, have a nice, bro. I said, I'll pray for you, bro. Shut the F up, bro. You He's but, bro, what a weirdo. I don't call the cops. They wear pentagrams on their chest. they can only have 105 IQ. I'm not a big fan. Hey bro, Austin's such an idiot. I'm like, what? Because I got kicked off about right. What are you kidding me, bro? You know, bouncing golf balls on hammers and juggling, it takes a little SpongeBob doll starts hitting it. What? Bob is like the OG, bro. What a loser, you going too deep, bro, dude. This is the surface, bro, dude. Like, that's not okay, bro. This doesn't add up. It's a bad look for the flat earth. I will press chargers, bro. Don't make me do this, bro. The bromance is over. You much left, bro. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro. Oh, I'm Nathan Thompson. Like, bro, like, calm down, bro. Like, all right, I'm getting bumps all over my stomach, bro. Like, they were smashing me, bro. They were feasting. That is his identity, bro. I'm Nathan Thompson. I'm effing Nathan Thompson. I am flat earth. I'm the best flat earth actress ever flattered. There's nothing without me. What a cool story, bro. He was in prison for literally nothing, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm like at 10 takes, bro. I'm not exaggerating. Like, cool story, bro. When you see the rainbow in entirety and completion, it's physical, literal evidence that the firm is still there. Rest assured, the earth's not about the flood, bro. You're good, but please stop talking crazy in the checks. I will continue to expose you. Like I said, the clip is only half empty, bro. Geo, bro. Like, love me, bro. Like, love me. I gave Geo the first bone he's ever had. Just get out, just leave, bro. No one cares. Memorize alternative things, Mr. Brain Train, Mr. Smart Genius. Guy flew out to LA and put on a duck suit and stacked toilet paper, saying it was gonna go to the moon, bro. Purposely, it misspelled the most important word, bro. To shut, bro. It doesn't add up, bro. Something doesn't add up. Something's fishy here, bro. Yeah, whenever I was like, dude, if you don't stop, go crazy, I'm gonna have to fight. He would just take off all his clothes, bro. Like, what a weirdo. Thanks for much love. I need a safe word. Keep taking that higher road, bro. It'll come back to you. I'm honestly feels disgusting and filthy. I feel like I need to take a shower.